Okay, so now I'm going to stop the recording until we.
True. All right. Thank you, Miriam. So just a little bit about the agenda today. We do have some time for lunch as you're grabbing lunch. So we are not going to really officially start until 12:30 because we know that folks need to breathe and we just had a morning. So 12:30 will start, and folks remotely know that. So if you're zooming into us, we're not starting until the bottom of the hour, wherever you're zooming in from. So we'll start at 12:30, 12:30 to 1:30, doing the RSA Parent Center spotlights. Flip over to that PowerPoint. When that is finished, Everett is going to lead us into a engaging presentation on the mini grants. Are you not, Everett? Excellent. We're having the break, and then the lovely Christy is going to lead us in a roundtable discussion, and we'll wrap up. So that's kind of the run of show for the day. Grab your lunch, enjoy, and we'll be back at 12:30. The country. We will get started in 5 minutes, and the schedule. So from 12:30 to 1:45 here in Denver, we're going to do RSA Parent Center spotlights, followed by the mini grants. We're going to take a break for 15 minutes from 2:45 to 3, and then have a roundtable discussion, and then wrapping up at 3:45 to 4. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So this is the spotlight for the RSA Parent Centers. So just give me 1 minute. I got to just flip PowerPoint. So hang on. Okay.
Am I going now? Oh, good Lord. Okay, I'm always first. Okay, come on.
Can you ask Miriam if folks are seeing the RSA Parent Center, or you go ahead, go on.
Want me to start?
Yeah, but just ask if they can see.
The virtual people, can everybody see the slides that are on the screen right now?
Yes.
Yes,
Are you
Lauren
able
said
to see
yes.
the real transition?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Right. Hi, everyone.
We're rolling.
Hello. I know you wanted to see our faces while you were eating your lunch. So why don't you go first, because you're A1.
Hi, everyone. So we are starting alphabetically. So
You're not seeing it on your. Hang on.
Lauren said they are. I don't know what they are seeing. You told me. Because I'm not seeing.
Hang on. We're gonna fix this. Thank you. That's why we have multiple things happening here. Now you should be.
Yes.
All right. Okay, that's good. All right. Yes. So if folks could introduce themselves when they're presenting and where you're from, and we'll get rolling from there.
yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Nurse. I'm the executive director of the Federation for Children with Special Needs in Massachusetts.
And I'm Dawn Monaco, with SPAN, the project director for Real Transition Partners at SPAN Parent Advocacy Network in New Jersey. You want me to just? So we do things a little differently in Region A. We work as one unit as opposed to even though it has A1 and A2 there, we work together. Only time we really separate our work into the A1 and A2 is when we do our data at the end of the year, or the annual report. Because we are jointly managed. It's a project that's jointly managed between SPAN Parent Advocacy Network in New Jersey, the Federation for Children with Special Needs in Massachusetts, and then 3 New York agencies, include NYC, Parent Network of Western New York, and Starbridge. And then within this project, we provide information, training, and support to technical assistance and support to youth and young adults with disabilities and their families, and all Parent Center staff in Region A. We broke out here so you can just see which centers are in A1 and which are in A2. Doesn't A2 look like they have a lot more than A1? Yeah. And so these are all 26 centers in our region. So you can move on. Oh. Do this one? I know how to, whatever. Okay. So these are what we've been, for the last 5 years, these are the yearly activities that we've been doing. So every year, all the parent centers in our region develop what we call an action plan because we provide them with funding. So the PTIs receive $10,000 a year and the CPRCs receive $7,500. So we just ask them to put a report together to tell us what they're doing with that money. And the money is meant to enhance the transition work that they're already doing under the PTI and under their parent center grants. So, and then we give them half the money when they give us their yearly action plan, which is usually in September. And then we give them the other half of their money because we don't give it all at once because we need things from them. And the other half of their money they get when they provide us with data at the end of the year for our annual report. And it's really a lot of fun collecting data from 26 parent centers. I'm just saying. And so we also provide them with 4 webinars and train the trainers a year. So this year, these are some of the titles that we've done. Helping families to see the possibilities in employment that was done by Transcend. And then we also worked with NTAC-C to do a 2-part series on getting involved in the VR process and pre-employment transition services. Each year we pick a different topic to concentrate on. Year 1 was just a planning year, and then we did year 2 was VR and pre-ETS. Year 3 was family independent living, and year 4 was family engagement and transition. And year 5 we decided, to go back. Yeah. And so we also, what we do is we have 3 convenings a year. We call them convenings because if they're virtual, they're a little bit longer than a 1-hour webinar. And we have, and so this year what we did was, I messed it up. So the webinars that we did were just getting involved in the VR process, the convening. See, even we get confused about convenings and webinars. And so the convening was the one that NTAC helped us with, the 2-part. And then we also did one on benefits of integrating youth in the work of the parent center, which we did here yesterday, and that was considered a convening. We have what we call Transition Tuesday and Workforce Wednesday. So those are social media posts. We have everyone in our in the group, all the collaborative partners, put up social media posts on a sheet that is shared with all 26 centers, and they basically can just pull them off the sheet and put them up on their social media. We did do a train the trainer early on when we did this to sort of help them to see whether they needed funding to help them. There's all kinds of I forget what the one's called, where you can schedule all your social media posts at one time. So we did some work on that to help them. But this is something we provide every month for them. And the Workforce Wednesday is actually a collaboration with RAISE. Sue Barlow does those posts for us. We do Transition Tuesday, but the RAISE youth actually do the posts for the summer months. That's a collaboration with the youth that we did so that they can provide social media posts for us. Okay, so yesterday in our session with the work in the parent centers, do you want to talk about I don't know. I want to get you involved.
Well,
I give myself a break.
Well, that's okay. I've been doing a lot of presenting over the last few days. We're particularly proud of our Youth Leadership Council and our youth leadership work. And yesterday we had a session where we had 3 or 4 young people from our region come and talk about the work that they're doing, the benefits of the work they're doing, how they're reaching out to other youth. So we have have a very active youth leadership council that consists of youth from throughout the region. So we work with and talk with all the parent centers about identifying someone who can be taking part on the Youth Leadership Council. And it started with maybe 2, just a couple of young people, and, has slowly built. And now, we're really seeing that, almost all the centers are really building up that youth participation in their work. So that's been really exciting to see. And one of the things that we do as Real Transitions is that we will fund youth to attend our regional and national conferences, because we want to make sure that, we're having our youth to be able to attend these really important gatherings. You want to talk about RAISE?
Sure. So I mentioned that we've collaborated with the RAISE youth to do social media posts. Well, RAISE is part of SPAN, so we have a natural collaboration because we are at the same agency. But the youth from RAISE now work with the youth from the YLC, and they all work with the youth from NTAC. So I have to say, if there's one thing that I'm sure Pam feels the same, really proud about the work that we've done through Real Transition Partners is the youth work. Because when she says we only started with 2 youth 5 years ago, we really only started. And these were one from Maine, and Johan was one of them, and Nathan from Ripon. And it was just the 3 of them meeting. But, just the technical assistance that we did with the parent centers to help them to build their youth capacity. We have over 20 youth now in the group. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done there.
And just to add, it's not only having the representation on the Youth Leadership Council, but we're seeing a lot of the parent centers having their own sort of youth advisory boards or youth groups. So that work that is happening in the Youth Advisory Council is really spreading out. Oh, collective impact. So one of the things in Region A that we really focus on is looking at our collective impact and really setting common goals and common measurements for our work, so that we can be sure that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction. And we've developed these collective impact structures for a lot of the work that we're doing, across the region. But the one that started it, the very first one, was the Youth Leadership Council Collective Impact. And the youth met, and they're the ones who filled this out. And then that became a model for the rest of us in our collective impact work. So we start with a common agenda, and it's really small here. So how much do I have to go through all this? Highlight. Okay.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you.
Start playing soon.
Well, I'll just go through the highlights here instead of reading and going through all the details. But you'll see, what we start with is really setting the common agenda. What are the goals? Because when we talk about what do we want to accomplish, it's usually a really, really long list. And what we do as part of this is really narrow it down to something, what is it that we can accomplish, and what is it that we all have in common that we can work together on.
People are suggesting so you can stand over there.
Oh, they don't need to.
Wait, where do you
Well,
want
we're
us?
done now, so we don't have to do that.
Oh, come on, Dawn. Where are we standing here?
You can be right there,
Okay,
lady.
hi.
So we're starting with a common agenda. We then move on to shared measurements. So we all have to figure out, how are we measuring? How are we making sure that our work is, we're accomplishing what we're setting out to do, and having a way in which we're all doing that in common. We encourage continuous communication. So, without good planning and good measures of communication, the best laid plans fall apart. So how is it, what are our plans for meeting, for getting together between meetings? We work on fostering mutually reinforcing activities so that, we're across the region, what we're doing is really supporting each other and building on what we're all doing kind of as individual parent centers, individual members of the Youth Leadership Council. And an important part of this is having a strong backbone. What are the resources that we have? Really identifying them and being clear about those resources so that we know how we can support this work moving forward.
And I just very quickly just want to say that, I mean, when we say the Youth Leadership Council came up with this, I mean, we had a meeting with them via Zoom and we went through every section and they told us what they thought should be in each section. And when I say us, I mean Johan and myself. And then we came up with how to word it based on our project. But and then we also did one for Real Transition Partners. We all met, the collaborative partners met. We came, we took each section and we came up with it based on how our project was written. And this is our model for Real Transition Partners. And that's it. Thank you.
All righty. Coming on up next. Not at all. You use your time.
I would be up here all day, but actually I would not be. So good afternoon. My name is Kendra Wormley. I am the Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be over here.
Yeah,
But
be right here.
hey guys, sorry, in virtual land. I'm so sorry. I'm always a mover. But
shaker.
sometimes. I am the RSA Transition to Adulthood Project Coordinator for PETC, that stands for Parent Educational Advocacy Training Center, that is located in Virginia. And I work on the RSA project. We have Region B1. So Region B1 includes Tennessee. So we work with Tennessee STEP. I'm going through the map as I go down the map. So coming over to Virginia for PETC. Then we work with Exceptional Children Assistance Center, ECAC, in North Carolina. Hello, North Carolina. Hello. Then we work with Family Connection of South Carolina in South Carolina. They're in the back as well too. Love it. Parent to Parent Georgia in Georgia. Right over there. Hello, y'all. And also Parent to Parent Miami in Florida. So we have been working collaboratively over the last 5 years and doing this in this project. So here we go. Making sure. So what I'm going to do is start off and telling you guys each year we have a theme. So our theme for year 5 is independent living. So we know that we want our kids, or our young people, not kids, our young people, to reach their greatest level of independence. And we know that's going to look differently for everyone. Some people may live at home for the rest of their lives with mom and dad. Some people are going to live on their own. So what does that look like for your child? What are those resources that are there and how can we get there? And I'm not going to go too deep into everything because I know time is very limited. So we kept with the same structure that we have done for the last 5 years. And we start off with a parent and professional training. So before we start all of that good stuff off, we do a trainer with our state partners. And we're going over the information. I advanced it already. I got you, Mike. I got you. I got you, boo. So we do a trainer that talks about all the information, and we're sharing the trainings that we have developed for that state. And each of those trainings are state specific. So they have the same format, but the information is going to be geared for that state. So that parent professional training, we have done that one as an online training platform that PETC is, I don't want to say the PETC leads, and then each state has to do their own parent professional training, and they also have to do their own student training as well too. So right now, actually Monday, we just closed the online training platform. So we had that open for 3 weeks. So people are able to go online, do it at their own pace, whatever makes them feel comfortable. And we also have a discussion board for people to put information or questions, and then we'll follow up on that discussion board. And if we have to, we will refer them to that parent center. So that way they can follow up with that information, because that state knows that state well. I can tell you about Virginia and where you need to go, but when it comes to Georgia or Florida, I'm like, oh yeah, talk to Parent Georgia or Parent to Parent Miami, because they'll be able to guide you along the way. So then we have, this is how our training platform looks online. So on the online training, we cover the topics of what does independence look like. Then we talk about Centers for Independent Living, along with housing, transportation, the difference between SSI, SSDI, because that's a huge topic, right? Medicaid health insurance for that state, and also those home and community-based waivers in that state as well too, and how you can apply for those waivers and what is offered to families. We also have a Ways in Espanol that will be taking place virtually next week on the 15th of April. So that's going to be done by our bilingual, I forgot her title, bilingual specialist. So she will be doing that presentation in Spanish for all the states, but it's going to be general information. It's not going to be state specific, but we will provide that information for those who participate. We do our student training, and that's actually a online Zoom training that we do, that I do with all the states, which is amazing because I get to connect with kids, because my tagline at PC is, you know, if we were like a Real Housewives of PCIs, even though I'm not a housewife, my tagline would be Kendra loves the kids. So, I look forward to connecting with our youth, and I'm able to connect with youth throughout the region of B1. So I always enjoy that one. So over the past 5 years, like I said, each year we have a different theme. So year one, we started off, begin with the end in mind, because how do we get to where we need to get to if we don't have a goal, right? Then we went into transition planning. What does that look like? What is that foundation? How can you build that IEP? And then for our young people, we talked about how you use your voice, because your voice matters. And what is your role when it comes to planning for your future? Then we talked about turning 18. Woo, woo, woo. I tell you, it's a great conversation to have. And also preparing our young people of like, hey, you're going to be an adult. What does that look like? How do you use your voice? What are the things you need to prepare for and think about when you become an adult? Last year, we talked about vocational rehabilitation. What are those supports and services in your state where you can go? And for our young people, you want to work. What does that look like? Who's there to support you? And then, of course, this year is independent living. So like I said, we talked about that parent professional training. For our students, we talked about what are those things that you need to prepare for to reach your greatest level of independence. So over the past 5 years, we have trained over 1,000 parents, over 1,000 professionals, and we have trained almost 400 students. So that number is still increasing because we're getting our data in for this year. So this does not include year 5 data. And we were just talking at the table, PC is the one who's been making all these resources, y'all. So with these resources, what I love doing, but we have produced over 150 resources, and that's going to be fact sheets and resources. And we have developed 39 trainings, because a lot of those trainings are state specific. It's not general or generic, as I like to say. And with our, each month, we have each state to share their dissemination numbers for those what we call the WAISE resources that they are distributing to others, whether it's going to be by email, they're doing a resource fair, or however they're sharing that information. And from that information, along with the trainings and resource fairs that I do and other people do here at PC, they're at PC, we have disseminated over 2 million resources, which is pretty, it made me stop the other day. Yeah, so thank y'all. I'm super, super excited and proud of us. There is one resource that we have, is called the Life Skills Checklist. That is by far one of our most popular resources. And we get calls from a lot of organizations and people in different states who are wanting to utilize that resource. And we always like to say, if it's already invented, y'all don't have to invent it. You can reach out to us if you want to do something to make it specific for your state. Just contact us. We got it. And within 1 week's time, at the end of February, online, we had over 1,000 hits on the Life Skills Checklist. That's how popular it's been, and it's one of my favorite and popular, and the baby that I'm excited about. You had that one thing. That's the one thing that I love to talk about. So I think that's all. Yeah, that's it. That's it for me. Thank you, guys. And I've had so much I love connecting with all you guys. So these last 5 years have been amazing. And like someone said earlier, crossing our fingers, crossing everything so that we can continue this for the next 5 years and we can continue our relationships and connections. Thanks. Who's next? Oh, yes. Coming to the stage, we have Gina. And she's coming around the way. She's coming around the riverbed and she's making her way to the front. And I shall hand the baton. You got to come over here so you can be seen by the people in virtual land.
Yes.
Yes. You got to come over here.
Thank you. It was easier just to come the long way.
You are good. All right.
All right. Do I need to click it?
Yeah, I'll do that part. If you
Okay.
guys, if you want to both kind of stand here, because the camera is actually right there. So
Okay.
there you go.
All right.
Say, hey to virtual land.
We are Region B2. I'm Cindy Augustine, and I'm the project director. And this is Gina Winter. She is the executive director of the project. So the grant is a project of the Alabama Parent Education Center, but we partner with the 6 state or Alabama plus 5 other states for the Region B2. And we have a couple of our partners here. We have
Texas is in the house.
yes, Texas back there and Oklahoma. We also partner with Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana, as well as Alabama. So, yeah. So just kind of our accomplishments kind of in the last year. You can click it. One thing we noticed when we were doing reporting last year is like we weren't getting the numbers that we felt were really reflective of what was going on. And we just, you know, it was hit or miss trying to get, you know, how many resources were done, how many trainings, how many people. So we meet yearly for, you know, once we were kind of over the major COVID stuff, we've met in person for 3 of the 5 years. So we kind of taught our all the 6 PTIs. We developed a spreadsheet, and you know we've been doing much better with getting this year 4, year 5 data collected. So we're hoping, you know, to report much better, more accurate numbers this time. So that was one of the things you want to do. The other thing, and was we have worked very hard to get all of our project developed resources 508 compliant and uploaded to the National Clearinghouse for Rehabilitation Training Materials. And so we have gotten that done. They apparently are on a publishing hold right now. So we have 11 that have been published, but we have 13 that are done, approved, and just waiting for that hold to lift so they can be published. So for me, I'm the one who did all that 508 compliance, and that was definitely not something that was originally in my wheelhouse. So it's been very interesting but challenging as well. I know Miriam last night talked about Canva. You know, my finding was if you develop something in Canva, it was very hard to make that 508 compliant. So I just wanted to give you a little warning if you're working on those things. Okay. Oh, and then we had one resource that was shared out. It posted on NCRTM's like new materials out, got tweeted out by OSERS and was picked up, and it's one of our most simple resources, but it's just the benefits of work. And it is, you know, besides a paycheck, what are the benefits for individuals with disabilities for work? Because I think that is often a forgotten thing. And I think that's why it's been shared out so much, because, you know, besides a paycheck, there's a lot of things. Think about your social group. Who is that generally? People you work with, right? So, you know, that kind of stuff's important. All right. So in development, we are doing a final, it's the way we've kind of created our trainings. You know, this since COVID, things have changed and you've got to do trainings and just little bites of things. So we've kind of created overall training, like modules, but we've made them in little bite-sized parts so they can be done like as a lunch and learn or something like that to make it a little bit easier to get more access to people who don't want to sit for a 3-hour or 6-hour in-person training, or, you know, and Zoom, you know, think about your attention span for Zoom. Well, everyone else is short too. So we're working on a final 9-part one, and it's just a overall whole big thing of the whole overall of transition. And then one of the big things, and I didn't put a lot about it here, but the first year we started the grant, we formed each of the 6 states formed a state advisory committee. And then we did also one that was throughout the region. So we, you know, VR people, independent living center people, just different people from the agencies, education, individuals with disabilities, parents of individuals with disabilities that all served on these advisory councils. And one of their first tasks was to go through their resources and compile what they had. You know, what did VR have that related to transition? What did education? What did, you know, the independent living centers? And then to determine where there were gaps. There weren't resources. And so that was one of that first year, that was what they did. They went through, they hunted their resources and they reviewed them. You know, were they high quality? Were they relevant, useful? All those kind of things. And then we identified gaps. And then year 2, we began creating the resources to fill those gaps. And each year, you know, the state and regional, they meet quarterly, so 4 times a year. And they have been really good partners with providing us with, you know, hey, we see this going on that we think, you know, might need a tip sheet. One of the ones we created was about online scams. And they were saying, you know, we're just not seeing a lot out there. We have youth with disabilities who are getting caught up in scams. So they suggested we do that. So we created a sheet for that. They have been really good about providing us input, and then they've been really great about sharing out our resources. So that's been just really great. It also has helped some sessions I was in. We talked about developing those relationships, and through those state and regional advisory committees, those relationships have formed. You know, it was some of the college programs were involved in, you know, that provide the post-secondary education training. They were involved in it. And so it was, you know, getting to know all those partners within each state, but then also throughout the region. One of the, really 2 resources that we developed was a list of questions to be asked for a youth and for family at their first meeting with a voc rehab counselor. You know, what questions should you be asking? And we developed a youth version that was worded for the youth to ask, and we developed a family version for families to ask. And we got that by working through the region, getting input from all the VR counselors or the VR, you know, state people that were, okay, I'm going, sorry, that were, you know, all right, let's keep going. All right, so you said the checklist. Well, we came up with 4 different checklists that we call our Here We Come series. And this is, we have a working independently, here we come, living independently, here we come, learning independently, here we come, and college ready, here we come. And these are our most requested, most shared out resources. You're just seeing the front page. They're several pages long, and they just have all the different things that youth with disabilities need to know, and you can check them off as you master them. They can be used as an informal transition assessment to be brought to an IEP meeting and saying, here, you know, I'm interested in going to college. I've used this college ready. These are what I still need to work on. and goals can be written.
And our parent center staff use it to begin having conversations with families, saying, okay, as we plan, what are we missing? What do we have? Where are we starting from? And what do you want to see happen? So it's a great way to have a really good structured informal conversation around skills in those areas, what your child has, what they desire, what you think they have, what you think they need, so that you can begin going through that transition planning with your IEP team, having a good piece of data collection.
Let me get through the last. Okay. Yeah. So there are the links. There's QR codes for those links. That's just kind of how to use the checklist, which we don't have time to go. And then just, we've been working hard with our website and just developing resources, because a lot of ours was just getting knowledge out there to families and youth. And that's a QR code to access our resources.
You had a question here.
Yes.
And Think College and college pathways.
We do have Think College programs, yes. Yeah, as part of the college, post-secondary, here we come. We talk about Think College programs and.
What about Dare to Dream? You have that Dare to.
No, we don't have that.
I'm just gonna tell you, Dare to Dream is a conference that you typically start in middle school and high school. It's a college to get students with special needs to start to think about college, because a lot of people with special needs are brought down so much that they don't know that there's even that opportunity. So just a thing you might want to look into.
Okay.
We can give you a link later if you would like.
Okay. Yes.
Did you have a question? No, I forgot what it was.
Okay. Was there online, did you say? Yes. Right. Yes, that all is there at independentfuturesthatwork.allruntogether.com. And we have just one little thing where you can click resources and you can scroll through all the resources. And we also have, most of them are translated into Spanish. We have a few that are left. Yep. Great.
Thank you all. No, I know. I'm sorry. I did nothing.
Good afternoon, is this on?
Should be on. It is on.
Speaking
Then just-
loudly and directly enough. I have to advance my slides as well. Okay, no, I'll do it. Hi, everyone. Sue Fager from Pacer Center. This is my colleague from Region C2. We're from the Midwest, so we kind of like to travel together. On my first slide, I have Region C1 and C2. We are on the east side and Jody's on the west side. So we have set up our RSA funded project very differently. Each of the states in our region essentially are focusing on all of the things RSA asks us to focus on, helping youth and families prepare for and successfully transition. But they also are doing other work that's relevant to their state. The one thing that I think is really cool when we set this project up was we asked every state to identify a center of expertise based on needs assessments for the families in their states. And then the resources they developed were created in such a way that they could be used by the entire region. And so when my colleague Judy Moses, who has been coordinating RSA funded projects at Pacer for 23 years, and I sat down and tried to figure out, okay, how on earth are we going to talk about anything in any detail for 5 minutes? We thought we would share the resources that each of the states developed for their centers of expertise. So starting with Wisconsin, their center of expertise was transition IEP planning. They developed a resource, a checklist, a slide deck, and they have it in both English and Spanish. I have links to all these resources at the end of the presentation. Ohio focused on youth engagement, including resources developed for youth to make the concepts of youth leadership a little more accessible. Michigan created these two incredible resources on working with youth in foster care. The videos were created by youth, and I encourage you, of course, to check out all the resources. The videos are incredibly powerful. Whoops, missed one. Okay, moving on to West Virginia. Their topic for Center of Expertise was supporting development of self-advocacy skills. So they came up with a couple of tip sheets and a third resource. Kentucky was focused on self-determination, and so they have developed a couple of animated type videos. And then, I don't know, for those of you who were here last year, Nick came from Kentucky as part of that youth contingent, and one of the things he's been working on since he went home is youth talks. Indiana's Center of Expertise was educating youth and families on pre-ets. So one of the things they've developed is a young adult program that includes some sessions focused on pre-ets, so youth can understand what that program is and how to access it. Family Matters in Illinois is focused on supporting youth and families in rural areas, and they have had a couple of self-advocates develop video blogs. And again, this is just a smattering and a sample of what has been created, or else I'd stand up here for probably a couple hours and tell you everything they did. So some of what was developed this year, at PACER, we have a lot of rural areas in our state, and there isn't a lot of employment except for self-employment. And so my colleague Judy created this new tip sheet on entrepreneurship. And Judy is also our queen of SSI and navigating the application process. And we used to have a 5-page handout for parents. So Judy took that information, pared it down to, I think it's a 2-pager. For families to help them understand that incredibly complex and frustrating thing called applying for SSI. So Nick this year did a new video on employment, and Ohio has 2 new resources that I'm sharing with you. One is, it's much clearer if you don't look through your glasses. One is recruitment for their Youth Advisory Council, and they have a new Adventures in Youth Empowerment focused on social interactions. And then West Virginia, in effort to increase knowledge in their state about, okay, what does post-secondary transition look like and how do you do it well, is having Pete Wright from Wright's Law come out and do a full-day training for parents, professionals, youth on what is this thing called successful post-secondary planning. I'm looking at Miriam. How am I doing for time? Okay, well, I was focused. I'm looking for this from you. Be quiet, we're done. Okay, one of the things, and what I forgot to say at the beginning was most of the funding we get from RSA is sent out to the states in our region. We've only kept enough for us to be the grant managers and do a couple of things, some workshops and some resource development. But one thing I think that we do really well is partnership with other agencies, community resource folks. And so I wanted to share 4 partnership activities, I guess we could say, that we have going on in Minnesota. One of them is a disability hub. Does anyone have the disability hub in their state? I know they're out there in multiple states. The Disability Hub is this amazing resource for folks living with disabilities, families, professionals, that puts together resources, almost every kind of resource you think you could ever need. You can call them, you can text them, you can chat with them, and you always get to talk with a person, which is incredibly amazing, I think. So on the Hub's website, they have resources for professionals, resources for transition-aged youth, resources for adults with disabilities, and then the page they have focused on resources for families, really bad. Very bad. So using our connections with Voc Rehab, the Department of Ed, and the Department of Human Services who put the hub together, we are working with them to redo the layout of their family resource page so that the information and resources they present are more accessible and meaningful for families. I'm going to leave the second one for last because it's the one I'm most excited about. Every year we do a 3-part housing workshop series, which is always well attended. This year we had over 700 people from across the country. Families are so hungry for this information. Julia.
The assisted housing. I just wanted to mention I live in assisted housing, and not a lot of people with youth get the opportunity to have open spots to get into these housings, and it's given to a lot of other people. I don't mean to be critical, but I thought I just should share that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julia. What we find in talking with families is they don't even know what the options are. The options they know about if they're youth or transition aged is what their IEP teams are telling them, which tends to be your son or daughter has this kind of disability, here's a group home for them. And so families have no clue what they can advocate for, which is why we love putting this on. So we had someone from one of our metro area counties who's been doing housing for 30 years come and talk about options and how to think about options. And we had someone from our Department of Human Services come and talk about, well, what kind of funding? How do you fund what it is you want to do? And someone from one of our independent living centers serving a rural part of the state provided input on, okay, I know what's happening in the metro area, but in the Arrowhead of Minnesota, that little top hat thing that sticks up into Canada, I don't know what's going on up there. So they shared important information with us. And then my colleague, Judy, the queen of SSI, every year facilitates 2 trainings for families. Oh my gosh. Okay. On SSI and work incentives. And we have someone from Social Security and the Department of Human Services DDS office come and share. Well, they actually do the presentation. Okay. Can I have a minute and a half? Thank you. So this amazing new project that we are working on that's funded by ODEP, and the money flows through our state employment and economic development department, and then flows into the state's American Job Centers. We call them career force. They used to be called workforce centers. We find that no families we talk with know about career force centers and the amazing programs they have for youth who have barriers to employment, including a disability. So if you aren't connected, if you're not knowledgeable about your career force center in your state, I strongly encourage you to learn a little more. I included a link to a resource on American Job Centers that we did. And the last thing I'm going to say is 4 states in total got this demonstration grant from ODEP. Minnesota's the only one that thought to include their PTI. And so we will be doing a lot of work that can be replicated with other workforce centers on this whole notion of you got to include families. If you want youth to be successful, for youth who have strong family involvement, you got to be including families. So the one piece is we're doing training for families, and the other piece is we're doing training for staff from the American Job Centers on how to work with families. And so here are our resources, all kinds of them. And Jody, hang on. Look at that, Jody. It just pulled right up.
Thanks, Sue. My name is Jody Webb, and I am the leader of the crazy group of Midwestern Collaborative, who I have a lot of people here. So if you could stand up, if you're from Region C2, stretch your legs for a second, that would be great. Thank you, thank you. So one of the things that we focus on, as you have discovered, there's each center does things a little bit differently. So the Midwestern Collaborative really focuses on ensuring that PTI centers are equipped with the necessary knowledge of vocational rehabilitation and centers for independent learning, enabling them to work with service professionals. One of the things we discovered in the first year was that we had some centers that were fully equipped and running and working with those agencies, and then we had some that were not. So we focused a lot on building and maintaining collaborative connections through the state's VR and CILs, and then stakeholders and agencies who basically worked with youth, and then networking regionally to learn from one another. So we did a lot of presentations in the first couple of years of this is what we do in our state and it's successful and this is how you can duplicate it. And then we also maintain a resource repository, just a big place to store all the resources. So people can kind of share what they have already built. And yeah, so that's kind of what we've done. As a group, we've created an all about VR webinar brochure and FAQ, all about CILs, same thing, secondary transition acronyms and definitions. This is a world of acronyms. So just to make sure that some of those centers that were not aware of all of them, we're not aware of all the services of VR and CIL, we focused on that. All about IPE is ready to go in front of everybody. So we're going to be finishing that. And then we're going to be working on changing roles for parents. This is our resource repository. So in here, each state shares regional files. So they put in curriculum that they use, resources, presentations, marketing, state VR plans are put in there, and then upcoming PD events, and then meeting notices and notes and reporting. But last year we went to a digital one. So that's great. So we have an online version now that collects all the data. Now I'm a data person, and what I want to show you is the data. So our state PTIs reported collaborative efforts with stakeholders on a quarterly basis. So 45% of the regions had under 5 connections beginning October 2020. And then Region 2 has increased collaborations by 698% by the end of this year. So that's not counting our data for the second portion. So we still have 3 quarters to go. So that is awesome. I love kind of, thank you. That's good, Claire. For state PTI presentations and professional development opportunities, so far, we have had a presentation from RAISE. Everett and Josie joined us, and they did an all about RAISE, and then they did an all about Yeti and Yen. So we wanted to make sure that they knew what was available to them. Coming up, we have Transcend, who will be doing 2 presentations, reimagining day services, and then planning for a meaningful life. And then finally, hopefully, we have, well, one that's not on here, but we are hoping that the Clearinghouse will do a presentation, but as we know, that's on hold. And then we also have Carla from South Dakota, who will be doing a presentation on the NTEC CBI team member and kind of that PTI role. State youth activities. Now, I have guesstimated my April 2025 to September 2025. And our October 2024, it goes all, like this information goes all the way into the end of 2024. So we still have this quarter that just finished to go up in here. But for activities that happen in states, we started with 50% of more or more of regional PTIs delivered under 5 youth and young adult activities. That was in 2020. Now we've seen an increase by 976%. So yeah, that's good too. One of the things that we do with our RSA PTI stuff is we are like Sue and we give money to the states They get to create their activities and they get to do what they would like to do. So this was kind of a duplicate here, but for professional development, sometimes if we can afford, we send our states an opportunity to send people to the RAISE Summit. So that's why we have a lot of people here. And then we also have funded the NTAC CBI conference. The sub awards that they received this year was a chunk dedicated towards state activities, then collaboration, expansion and building on their activities, and finally youth leadership. So the goal for this year was everybody to get a chunk of money to find a youth to contract to start building their youth leadership in their state. And that's everything. Thanks, everybody. I know.
Thank you. Alrighty, open doors.
The right arrow. Okay, awesome. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie. I'm with Open Doors for Multicultural Families. Kind of the new kid on the block for RSA. I've been with Open Doors for about 2.5 years now. And I am the program manager overseeing the project for the D1 region. So just an overview for those of you who might not be familiar with Open Doors. We're based in Seattle, specifically Kent, Washington. And Open Doors came to life through the vision of Ginger Kwan, who identified a need for supporting multicultural families in our community. Kent is a really unique community with, I believe I just recently looked at the OSPI website, and there's 130 different languages spoken within the Kent School District. And so our community has a lot of diversity, a lot of needs. And so we serve hundreds and thousands of families that just require understanding of system navigation through language access and cultural brokerage. So our team is unique in that there's 23 different languages spoken amongst our team of about 50 staff. And we support families directly with case managers who come from their culture and community and speak their language. So as we're exploring how to navigate systems, there's cultural relevance, understanding, and just a level of trust that's there so that they can be vulnerable and ask their questions. I think for the RSA project as a whole, when I first came in, we were really in a place of building information to specifically serve our multicultural community at home. And over the last 1.5 years, as I've learned more about the project and understood just the overall deliverables and the impact of it, we've made a shift into really building the capacity of our region and coordinating amongst states. We have, I think, the most geographically diverse region. We serve Washington, Oregon, Alaska, Hawaii, and the Pacific Territories. So there's a lot of time zones, a lot of mountains in between us all, a lot of ocean in between us all. And so we've spent a lot of time investing in each other and getting to know each other. We built a regional summit that started last year where we're actually all coming together in person to do strategic planning together to kind of build the vision for our region and figure out what we would benefit us all. So we'll be doing our second one in August together at OSEP. Last year we did it in Boise when we all came together for the Region D conference. So we're continuing that work together. There's a lot of things that I want to share. It's so hard to summarize this all because it's been a really complex couple years for us. I think one of the biggest focuses over the last year has really been to create and to kind of build out the deliverables that were defined prior to my joining the team, but to understand the vision of what they were meant to be. So we've really been focusing on how do we raise the voices of our community? How do we organize information in a way that is relevant to the community that we serve? How do we find all the important nuggets of wisdom and system navigation guidance and make it culturally relevant and accessible through language access? So there's been a lot of time just kind of scouring and finding and organizing, but then how do we create that visual language to put it all together and make it easy to understand and follow? So one of the big projects that we've been working on is this Transition Hub website, which I'm happy to say, after having to start over 4 months ago, it's almost done. It's going to be live for people to start exploring in 2 weeks. And to accompany that, we also have a regional newsletter that's going to be starting. It's ready to publish. I just need people to start joining. So the link to join the Transition Hub newsletter is there. It's going to have that community voice focus. The newsletter is going to be geared towards professionals, but also support this capacity of families. It's going to have a link to our blog that we've created that is targeting youth voice as well. My colleague Khalid, who's here, he's our self-advocacy educator. And we've been working together for, what would you say, 6 months now, Khalid? Yeah, 6, 7 months now. And diving into Khalid's voice and his journey as a young man who's navigated high school and college and getting a degree, and now what is independent living. So we're meeting on a weekly basis and partnering and just figuring out what are those stories to share and what is that knowledge and wisdom. So that's going to live in this universe as well. So I'm excited for those stories to come out because we're really just learning from the advocates and the community that we support. There's some video resources that I think I'll share later as a part of the mini grant piece. In addition to that, did I have 2 slides here? Nope, I did not. In addition to that, we've really been leaning into training. We've done a lot of capacity building work with professionals in our area. We've done some statewide trainings with the Puget Sound ESD, and those are really rooted in cultural brokerage and sharing that concept of what is cultural brokerage, who is a cultural broker, how do you approach that, and what are the values and the mindset and the strategies that you carry into just looking at the trainings you're offering, the information you're sharing, how you're connecting with families. We've done a really beautiful Stories Spreading Synergy series that we were able to do with Seattle Public Schools and their school psychology team, and bringing together panels of parents as well as panels of teachers to share their stories about special education, about challenges that they faced, about what brought them to the field, to really build a bridge between system and community. And then from there, we were able to break out into smaller group sessions to connect even further, talk about challenges, share resources, and really start to kind of disrupt and rebuild the barriers that we all run into in, navigating between system and community. We partnered with PAVE, our Washington PTI this year, and we're able to help with their Tools for Success conference, which was amazing this year. They had 470 youth registered from 3 different counties. It was so great. And so that was an all-day event with beautiful keynote speakers, youth-focused sessions. My colleague Key and I, Key is our community engagement specialist and also a self-advocate. We led a session about it was called Your Future, Your Way, and it was how to plan for your future using art as well as AI. So low tech and high tech, when maybe verbal communication isn't your strength, how do you draw it out? Or how do you have a thought partner in technology to think about what you want for your future? And we had some beautiful stories where, students shared they wanted to work with Legos. So we used AI to brainstorm what skills you need, what jobs already exist, what jobs can you create through self-employment? And we kind of started mapping out plans and ideas for them to then jump off of with, using artificial intelligence. We've got so many other things. We did an IEP series this year. Our families, knowing their rights is really huge. And we're doing that in partnership with the Seattle Discipline Coalition. So we're bringing together the knowledge base of cultural brokerage and language access, but also how to advocate around discipline in schools, because we all know that BIPOC youth, unfortunately, have to deal with harder barriers as it relates to discipline in school. So many other things. We've got our social emotional programs that we run year round. Yes.
Mike.
Thank you. Michael with the mic, I know. No, I just wanted to say that I think it's really cool that you're using AI and teaching people how to use it, because it's great if you know how to use it correctly.
What youth has trouble with discipline in schools?
So I use the acronym BIPOC, which relates to communities of color, indigenous communities, communities that are often marginalized. You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Just, I guess, a few other points that I had for some of the work that we're doing. Our Youth Leadership Council has been a staple in our project. They are my favorite partners in this work. It's a small but mighty group. We've got 12 registered youth. Our average attendance is like 3 to 6 on a monthly basis. But they identified that they didn't really like the word youth because they saw themselves as adults. And so we went through the process of rebranding, and they are now called the LEAD Collective. And so LEAD stands for Leadership, Empowerment, Advocacy, and Diversity. And they set priorities that they want to learn about disability history, because none of them had access to that in school, and how that connects to their pride, and the intersectional identities they have as multicultural youth. And so we've been exploring the ADA and legislative sessions and how to testify in Olympia, and going through just different things that affect their ability to share their voice. So it's been a beautiful group, and we've had a lot of cool things come out of it the last 6 months. And then other than that, just data. I think we've been sharing a lot of information. I think last year our transition guide, which is a multicultural resource, I've shared it multiple times with many of the RSA partners, but it is available on our website. It is a full 4-part guide for multicultural youth that is available in 11 different languages. And it goes through everything from person-centered planning to employment to systems to benefits. And it's got a whole acronym guide and things like that in it. So that is available for download. And we shared 34,000 of them in the last year, which is pretty great, across all 50 states, which I thought was really cool as well. And then in development, I'm working on a cultural review guide to take some of the work that we do internally when we reflect on our curriculums. Like, we have a self-advocacy leadership training curriculum, and that went through a cultural review for 4 different communities, the Black community, 2 different Latino communities, and then the Somali community, to make revisions based on the needs of the parents. And then, so that will be coming as kind of a guide and a resource and a checklist that can be followed. And then also I'm revamping our information about how to work with interpreters effectively, and a review form. So when you're in an IEP meeting, if the interpreter didn't serve you well, you can actually provide feedback and give that back to the schools, and work on improving those processes and supports. So I got my card for time up, so I'm going to hand it over.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Lots of wonderful things. All righty. And up next, let's have some Project Power. Yeah. All righty.
I heard that.
All right.
Let me just look real quick. I'll just go. It's okay. I mean, they're good enough.
Yes.
They'll be okay.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and do hang on one second. We'll get the mic over there as you're looking at that. Let's just hang on. Right here.
Yeah, it's a question for you, Millie. Yes. What is the earliest age you are seeing parents begin the transition process, and what roles have you seen local district special education advisory councils play in the promotion of transition services?
Great question. So at Open Doors, we actually have early learning services that we provide. So we start connecting with families as early as birth. So we have natural engagement programs that support 0 to 5, 5 to 13, 14 to 24, and then we're working on adult services. So we have a natural connection to that work. So as soon as we identify a family is in that age range, we're starting to connect them to our training series. The special education advisory piece, Ginger and I talked about that yesterday because I went to a session about it and I found it really appealing. It is something that exists in Washington, but unfortunately in communities that don't have a lot of money to support them, we don't see them happening. And so I was exploring how do we kind of build a bridge with bringing multicultural families together to be advisors. We often are thought of at the very last minute to check a box, and we're given like 2 weeks to try to rally families together to have them contribute and participate. But when it comes to needing to interpret and translate, we've set a standard for us that if you don't approach us with 2 months notice, we just say no. As meaningful as the experience might be, it just doesn't support the capacity of our team or our families to not have that much time to actually get people on board and buy in and sign up and understand their role in a situation. So we don't have a lot of partnership with CPACs right now, but I do think it's important, and I'm going to learn more.
Alrighty, let's turn this over.
Hi, I'm Melissa Edwards, and I work at Peak Parent Center under the RSA Project Power.
And I'm Quinta Phillips. I also am her co-director for Project Power.
All right, and this is our team. So we've got Michelle as our executive director, and we also have Cade. He's our new hire. He's our youth innovation coordinator all the way in the back. So these are the states that we serve: Idaho, California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. When we first took over this project last year, it has only been a year that we've been doing this. Before we even started planning this year, we wanted to do a needs assessment. So we sent a needs assessment to all of the states, and they said that their areas of interest this year that they wanted us to kind of focus on was unserved, underserved populations, policy and law around youth work, dignity of risk, collaborative efforts and relationships building between parent centers, youth engagement, technology, and communication. So as we go through our slides, those are the areas that we have really been trying to focus on to serve our parent centers better. All right, so as far as resources go, we did create an accessibilities guideline checklist. Quinta just recently did a session on the youth engagement mini grants that we gave out. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, if any of you all were here on Tuesday, I don't know, we've been here for 4 years. Y'all are sick of hearing from me by now. But I'm going to keep talking anyway. So, okay. So stand up and say that to me, Ev.
You would have been here, maybe you know what she was talking about.
So no, we did we did a session on the youth engagement mini grants. So our center, really youth engagement is kind of our big thing in our region. That's our focus with everything we do. So we decided to give out awards to centers in our region to come up with a project or something related to youth engagement. It could have been a one-time thing. It could have been for starting a long-term thing. And we had some really cool presentations on that. We had one center who used that money to kind of gamify like their transition materials. We had one center set up like a workshop for young adults to gain music skills, like just outside of, you know, all the transition webinars we go to and stuff like that. There were a lot of cool different projects. And we will have, at some point on our website, we'll have all those listed if you actually want to go through and look at everything all the centers did. But they were really cool. Do you want me to keep going?
And then, so as we did our needs assessment, we also had asked the parent centers how they wanted these resources presented, whether it was going to be through webinars or what we call grab and goes, where it's just they can print it, take it, give it to their families, and then they can go. What would their families work best with? And so a lot of parent centers were like very honest and said, hey, our months are very busy. Our days are very full. We don't have a lot of free time. We would really like it if we can get things that are short and easy to access. So with that being said, we kind of took away what we were doing, which were cooperative meetings where we would meet and have discussions online, just because we only had about 2 parent centers showing up. And we decided what we were going to do instead was start a Region D2 Discord. So that is very new. But on that Discord, we have resources. Parent centers can go on there and list their resources that they have. We put ours on there as well. We also have had a monthly newsletter that we send out to all of our states. And through that, we put our piece of advice videos that our youth advisory community creates. And we had the youth engagement toolkit that we started last year, and it's finally finished. And that is ways to help parent centers engage with youth. And we created fact sheets with that. So now monthly, we're going to send out reminders just saying, hey, we have this great tool. Here's a QR code to take you directly to that resource. And as webinars and trainings were developed, last year we focused on employment and the employment plans. This year we are focusing on independent living, like some of the other parent centers are.
Yeah. Also with that, this year we decided with that needs assessment, we realized a lot of the centers in our region already have, I mean, every center really already has some curriculum that's really their thing that they do all the time, they present on. And I know we're all a big fan of the phrase, don't reinvent the wheel. So this year we're having our centers provide trainings in conjunction with us instead of creating them from the ground up like we've been doing. And then we had our Success Unmeasured conference. So that was a virtual conference for Region D2 that took place over Zoom over 4 different weeks. Each week was a different session. And we had a youth panel. So our youth advisory community was a part of that. They ran one of the sessions themselves and did a whole panel. And that actually was name checked by somebody this weekend. So if that's whoever's in the room, thank you for saying that you enjoyed that. And then we also had our staff, we all did WebAIM accessibility training. And we're also offering that to every center in our region as well, because we found it really valuable. Even if you think you understand accessibility as far as documents, it's very helpful. And then you want to talk about.
All right. So coming soon, like I said, we have that independent living webinar series coming up. We also just recently started a legal consideration sheet. Like I said, that was one of what our parent centers had wanted, is just that guidance. So we started a white sheet, and with that, we're also going to have a fact sheet. So that simple, like, this is the information we need, and then how can we dig deeper into it? We're also doing an essential forms kit. So with that, we all know when we do youth work, there's a lot of forms that come along with it to make sure that everybody is understanding exactly what's going to happen with our youth work. So that will also be available soon. And then we are doing what we call our personal networks training. So we have partnered with another project in Peak, and we are having her do trainings and webinars, and it's going to be through our new LMS system, which we're pretty excited about, because we're going to be able to create small, short trainings within 15 minutes that everyone can access and just go through. With that, we're also going to be creating a training for our youth and young adults on how to build portfolios and how to use those and how to move forward with that. And then, of course, we're going to be doing our Region D2 Parent Center Conference this year online again, because we had better show up through that. People said it was easier to get on for 1 hour once a week and get it done, within a month. So we're going to go ahead and do that again this year. And along with that, we are also going to host a youth advisory community conference here in Denver, and we're going to be working collaboratively with our PTI on that.
So we just want to talk a little bit about kind of over the past 5 years, we've developed our youth advisory community. I know we've brought them up a lot, but we're really proud when we actually look at the numbers of what they've created. So in conjunction with our YAC, we have 22 infographics that they either created, co-created, reviewed. They've done 16 we've published 16 piece of advice videos so far. Those are still coming monthly. If you haven't seen those in our newsletter or on our YouTube, they're different topics like, how to transition to college out of state or how to dress for the weather. Very simple to more complex issues that relate to disability and being a young adult. And then we've got 15 webinars. Like I said, they participated in our conference. They've spoken at our peak in-person conference, done and Success Unmeasured, like I mentioned, that panel. And then we have a total of 4 toolkits so far that we have created. Like Melissa mentioned, we just came out with our youth engagement toolkit. So that one, we're still having our new employee create those fact sheets. So they'll be coming out to you guys. And then we'll just talk a little bit about the timeline of our youth advisory community. I know we're a little over. We're going to go through this quick. But so just kind of how this came to be, because again, like they're involved in everything we do. They're really central to our work. So this idea was actually brought up by our predecessor. Sherelle had this idea to create a YAC, and we started talking about it more, thinking about it, working with our partners, Raising Special Kids and Diversibility to actually get what do applications look like? What are we allowed to ask them? What do we need? What information do we need to know from them? How does the interview process look like? What is screening? What's the age range? All those kinds of things. And then we finally came together. We had a really small group of 5. We were just doing Zoom meetings until we had our first in-person leadership conference. That was in Salt Lake City, Utah last year. And they really just blossomed from there. Having them together in person was really cool to see. They started taking more ownership of the YAC themselves. They started doing the piece of advice videos, deciding what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And they'll be helping lead our YAC conference this year as well. So their mission, they provide resources, real-life applications, and practical tools to individuals, their families, and professionals from a youth perspective about disabilities. We empower youth and young adults with disabilities through paid opportunities to have their voice heard. So again, this was their mission. They wrote it up. We didn't provide it to them. And then just some comments of we've started doing some professional development training for them as well, because they contribute so much to us. We want to make sure we're investing in their development on the other side. So just some highlights over the past couple years of trainings. They love the communication training. It provided personal life skills and tools. Every time I attend, I learn how to navigate business and life together, and they don't have to be separate. I enjoyed the conference and getting to know each other better. The training on speaking and communication was my favorite. The Autism Project, when we did the infograph and the conference, and then the Success Unmeasured conference, because I learned more about myself and being confident. So I just wanted to highlight, it's really a mutually beneficial relationship, goes both ways. We got some highlights. That picture in the center there is our YAC conference in Salt Lake City. Well, actually, all of these are from Salt Lake City. And then again, to highlight kind of the fact that they've grown as well. They learn how to make new friends, meet new people, speaking up, being more confident, communicating better at work, advocating more. I love the quote, advocating for yourself gets you what you need faster than having others say it for you. It's really hits the nail on the head there. And then empathy. I absolutely love the community fostered within the YAC. And I feel it's particularly important in the moment in time we find ourselves having to navigate, which is very profound. It's a very good quote, but that's pretty much it. So thank you for listening.
All right, hang on. We'll get the question. Hang on.
It's very present. Okay, maybe the question is for you or for anyone, but I think since you are there, maybe you can answer. Okay, for both middle school age and high school students struggling with executive functioning due epilepsy, ADHD, and anxiety, school courses, career planning, and day-to-day use of planners decision making and organization is a challenge. Are any of the programs represented today assist with this? I am here in Louisiana. I would love some resources for my middle and high school children.
Okay, somebody want to take that? I don't know, Quenna or anyone else? Executive functioning, yep.
So I don't know about programs with us specifically. I know like with our YAC, that is something we talk about. Like one of our piece of advice videos, we actually just put one out on procrastination and executive dysfunction. So our products, I would say around this are more kind of grab and go things. So we don't have any specific programs. I don't know if anyone else to probably the whole.
And to that end, RAISE early on in the creation of Yeti and what that is now, we did podcasts that were around topics like how to navigate work environments, and they were from different disability perspectives, all kinds. And so I think there's some really good nuggets in those podcasts from youth perspectives from multiple disability lenses. So yeah, I think there's some tidbits in those too. Yeah.
Hang on, let me run back to Sue.
Thank you, Michael. Sue Fager from Pacer. Have you checked out assistive technology? There could be some good supports for your students through that.
And not seeing other hands. The other place too, the Association for Children with Learning Disabilities and their website has a lot of information that kind of circles back to this. So you may want to check that out also. With that, I think just kind of a round of applause for all of these folks. It was amazing information. And we're going to change things up a bit. I'm reading the crowd. We're going to take a break now. So let's take our break now. It is about 5 to the top of the hour. We'll take a 15-minute break. We'll come back at 10 after for everybody. When we come back, we are going to do the roundtable discussions for a half hour, and we'll wrap up with the mini grants. All right? I think that might make a fresher afternoon. This was a lot of information, folks. So again, come back at 10 after. We'll jump into the table talks. The folks that are virtual, we'll do that in chat. Okay? Any questions? We good? See you in 15.
Is really just about, oh, thank you. Talking about, like, I think as we all just heard, as parent centers, we're really at the front lines of systems change, right? And so we're going to talk about sort of preserving what I think is one of the most vital supports for youth with disabilities, and that is transition services. So I think as we're all sort of realizing is that if those services are cut, then the system is sort of failed. So I want to try to use this time to reflect on some past advocacy that you all have done. Talk about how we might be able to navigate the current political climate, and really just identify some actionable steps that we can take moving forward so that the systems do not fail. So to start, I want to go around just like round robin, rapid fire style, talking about one advocacy initiative that your PTI has done that you are proud of, what helped it succeed, what not, and if there's time, like if you could go back, one thing that you would change.
All right. So folks online, go ahead and type in chat. The rest of you, I'll just walk around with the mic. So again, you just want to repeat those directions, ma'am.
All right. So again, you got like 1 minute, one advocacy initiative that your PTI has led that you are proud of, what helped it succeed or not, and if you could go back, what would you want to change?
All right. I'm going to run back to the cheap seats first. Y'all can take a minute to think. And I'll be very teacher intimidating and just stand next to a table, and hopefully somebody will start answering. What? Again, one advocacy thing that you're really proud of and one thing that you'd like to change. Wondrous. The rest of you start thinking about these things.
Sorry, I was the one that made him repeat himself 4 times. What? Jen from Nebraska. And one thing I'm really excited about is we haven't done a whole lot of like youth engagement activities. It was kind of we've done a little bit sprinkling here and there. And so with RSA funds, thank you, Jody. Yay. We have embarked on it and it's been really exciting. So I guess the thing I'm most proud of is our first project. We have 12 youths involved and they're helping us create. One's completely done and the other 2 are almost done. Need a few finishing touches, but 3 info sheets, handouts on the importance of self-advocacy and then asking for accommodations in the workplace and accommodations in school. And it's all from them. And they did a lot of work digging into their disabilities, learning about IDEA, ADA, 504, just a lot of work went into it and then getting their opinions. And so I'm so excited because this is the first time Nebraska, like, we'll have this and we can put it on our website and we can do more. And then we have work with about 20 more youths in the works. So I'm just super excited about like what the future holds.
Anything you'd like to change?
I wish we would have done this sooner. And I wish we would have gotten more like advice. Like whatever you guys say, like you should see my notes. Like my brain is like overloaded right now with ideas from you all, but like I just wish we would have started sooner because there's so many great ideas out there on how to engage youth. So I'm glad we're doing it now.
Great. Anyone else at this table? Yes.
So this last summer,
Who are you and there?
Gina from Alabama, Greenbow. No, not really. There's so this last summer we engaged in our first on-site youth camp. And so we wanted to delve into self-advocacy in real time with youth that were in high school and entering transition planning and really giving them an effective voice and some tools to go back and use. So we did a series of 3 camps It's All About Me, which was self-discovery, understanding their disability, all about my IEP, participating in that process, and all about my future. And so it was a great process. It really was. The youth really enjoyed it. They got to connect with youth from all over the state that they didn't know. One of the things that I'm really glad we did is we did it face to face because virtually I don't think it would have worked as well. They were able to feed off of each other and really connect, and they're still connecting. But with the series of 3, we also brought their families in. And then their families were taken to somewhere else because this was not about them, it's about them. And so our PTI staff worked with the families to come up with a support plan. So while we were working with the youth in one area, we were talking with the parents and the families about this is what your youth is learning and this is what they're going to bring to you. And your job is to support it. And how will you support that step? So the parents came up with a complete action plan of understanding about what their youth were doing and how to support it and have an ongoing homework assignment once they went home before they came back the next week to work on this next section. One of the things that we learned that we would change that we did find difficult and we felt like it was challenging because we had such a great response across all disabilities. And so in moving forward, we are really going to look at channeling groups like ones that are really thinking about college environments, ones that are thinking about more independent living issues, ones that are and really marketing and bringing those resources to the table for diverse populations to meet their diverse needs. So because it was hard to do when we're looking at 20 different youth with 20 very different needs and goals and where they're going and how they're getting there and their support needs. That's where we had some challenges. And we just, it's one of those things, let's dive in, let's try it, let's learn from it, let's try it again. And so that's where we are. But it wound up being very successful. We just felt like in hindsight, we'll do it differently and we'll really focus on where their ultimate paths would like to be. So if I'm thinking about trade school, if I'm thinking about a Think College program, if I'm thinking about a traditional college setting, if I'm thinking about independent living and what it would look like. So we're going to track that out more in the future, where we can really hone in on those resources.
This table, anyone else? This table, somebody. All right. Everybody else like, no, please, somebody.
Hi. Okay, I'll be.
Who are you?
I'm Beth from North Carolina with Exceptional Children's Assistance Center, and I'll be real quick because I know time is of the essence. But I am over our pre-ETS program. So 3 years ago, we launched a virtual pre-ETS program through our PTI, and we are reaching tons of youth in the state of North Carolina. It makes me super excited. I don't know what I would change. I'm looking to expand and wish we had been doing it a longer time.
Thank you. Okay, moving up. All right. Yeah.
So I'm going to take us I don't know who I am. It's been a long week. What's my name? Okay. Who do I want to be? No, Michelle Williams, Executive Director of Peak Parent Center, also co-director for Region D, PTAC. And I'm going to take this in another level. And for those of you who attended our session on fund development yesterday, I think it was, you'll get where I'm going with this. So what I'm most proud of as an executive director of my organization, the great work that our team has portrayed, and I am not going to lay down. So even if this funding is not solid, I've already now started, and Quinn my witness, and Melissa too, and Cade, we've started, we're working with our grant writers, still keeping the momentum of the work and figuring out where we're going to apply for other sources of funding. In conjunction, obviously, if this RFP hopefully does drop for the RSA continuation, but also looking at alternatives. And then I also pushed my board at a high level, and we just created a financial stability committee on my board from the last board meeting that's starting up. So really getting people to move the needle that we are an amazing nonprofit unit and the Parent Center Network. And we're moving a lot of the eggs out of the OSEP and RSA basket because we have to. And I'm really most proud of that. And what I would change is that, because I wish when I got here 5 years ago, I didn't see that all of our eggs were in a big one basket, because as we all know in nonprofit world, it's not sustainable. So we're changing that slowly but surely.
Great. How about someone from this table? All righty.
Oh, do you want me to stand up? I don't have to stand up. Okay. Okay. So Jill McCormick, PAVE, PTI for Washington State, and mine are legislative. So we facilitate or create a platform for our Pierce County People First group, and they were part of a statewide legislation for Nothing About Us Without Us, that the young adult disability community and the adult disability community really worked on self-determination legislation for our state. And then the second was family advocacy and legislation, and providing platforms for families to go to legislative sessions or virtually be a part of legislative sessions that brought about a state transition council that looks at better linking our developmental disability services, our school-based transition services, and our DVR, so that when students are transitioning out of school, they already have a pathway that it links them connected with the services, so that they start talking in the school system during that transition period with state-based services.
Anything you'd want to change?
Anything I'd want to change? I would love to have a broader youth and a young adult connection in the disability community, so they have a better chance of talking with each other, so that just more like that disability history connection, just that a better awareness of what life is like as an adult in the community and in the state.
Thank you. Anyone else from this table? Don't want to take your voice. All right, middle table. Someone. No, you can't.
Why, Michael, I don't know how to
tell us
say
who you
that.
are.
I'm Kendra.
I know you are.
Hello, everyone.
So over the last few years, we do something called PYE, Parent Youth Empowerment Summit, and it's a one-day conference for our youth and for parents to come together to learn about transition. And we do it at Great Wolf Lodge. So what we do, we make it very incentivized in a sense. We pay for the room for Great Wolf Lodge, along with access to the water park for Friday night for families to come in. And the only thing they have to do is put down a $35 deposit and participate in the summit the next day. And we provide breakfast and lunch. All you gotta do is participate, right? You'll be surprised how people do. But anywho, so, and then we also provided an additional night stay at their cost for, I think last year we did $50. So we had about 48 families that participated. Some families had, 3 kids. Somebody had a set of triplets, bless their hearts. So, not my journey, y'all. So, we had a great amount of people, youth and parents that were there, and we provided that information, had our VR agency, we had, people talk about Medicaid waivers, things along those lines that we felt were very good for our families. But on the youth side, we talked about self-advocacy and what it means to be a self-advocate and thinking about your future. Last year was dream big, think big. This year we're doing World of Opportunities. And because of me being at PC, and we started our YET Council, our Youth Empowerment Transition Council, and how I met wonderful Kim and her mother. And we've had Kim participate, like each year we do something different, and we have our youth come and participate and do a self-advocacy panel. So we're providing that opportunity for our young people to say, and I always tell people, and Kim will say, I always let them know, your voice matters. I'm just here to help facilitate your voice. You tell me what to do, I'm gonna help you guys along the way. Tell me what you want. So that's something that we have been able to do for the last couple of years, and hopefully it has, we're looking for funding, like, right over here at Peak, funding is always important. So reaching out, I'm connected with the organization called Civitan. So I'm part of a foundation. My foundation has money. They want to spend over $200,000. So guess what? Grant opportunity for PC and for other people that I connect with as well too. So just finding those financial entity supports sometimes can be a challenge, but we've been very blessed to be able to find some of that opportunity.
And anything you'd want to change?
A week's teeter-totter on this, because when the youth come, we do not know them until they walk into Great Wolf Lodge Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. That's when we meet that young person. We don't know who they are. So we've had some people who require a lot of supports, and we make it work. And we have some people whose parents are just like, you're here. And they're like, why am I here? And they're bored out of their mind. So trying to figure out how to connect with some of those students who are just like, this in their mind, they'd be like, this is stupid and dumb, Miss Kendra. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But what we're going to do is, and then I have to like, you're going to be my helper today. So trying to be, quick on my toes and trying to keep people engaged, that can be a difficult. And sometimes I wish I can look at IEPs, but am I being too intrusive? Let me see your child's IEP before they come. So, it's, what do you do? It's a catch-22 kind of situation.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Never can kind of attest to this. We did the Pennsylvania conference for about 15 years, and we had a really strong youth track. And every year we tried to get information about the young folks, because they were coming for 3 days in the summer, staying there. And we did not get good information. And it was like, sometimes these young folks came, and we were not ready to support them the best way they could. So I think how one can do that and sell it, and really for the young people to know, why the heck am I even here, and what am I doing, and what am I getting out of this? So I think methods, and I don't have the silver bullet for that, because I certainly don't, but I think ways to do that would be really helpful. Anyone else in the room? If not, we're just going to look on the big screen. So there are a couple of comments that folks typed in. So Krista from Vermont Family Network said that we had a young self-advocacy serve as the keynote speaker at our annual conference, but we set it up as an interview conversation style, which really helped her to shine and set a great tone for the event. We're on a steering committee for a youth advisory council that's run by our state's vocational rehab agency. And my hope to change would be that we work together more closely to ensure youth have great opportunities to advocate, but that they are coordinated and cohesive. And I think that is one of the things we're definitely trying to do, especially through Yeti, is it's not just showing up and tokenized and being there, but how to make this all meaningful. And then for Amy, and this looks like from Impact from Missouri, has begun a youth initiative over the last year, starting at RAISE in St. Louis last July. The youth have produced a video over the last few months, and we have 4 to 6 youth advocates at this time. And back over to Christy.
Thank you very much, Michael. All right. And then it also occurred to me that I totally just jumped in and did not say who I am. And not all of you may know that. So I'm Christy Sichter. I work at the Peel Center in Pennsylvania. I am the youth coordinator and I work out of Pittsburgh. So just to talk up a little bit of an event that Peel is doing is that next month, May 10th, I will be having an event that we're doing a collaboration with an organization called Life's Work, which is also located right in Pittsburgh. And they offer a lot of services for individuals with disabilities about employment. And we are hosting a youth event there where we will sort of be talking with youth as they're navigating that transition out of high school, talking to them about, you know, the different options that are available, you know, if they want to do post-secondary, if they wanted to go to work, independent living, whatever path they're choosing. So we'll have a little bit of presentation. We are also really hoping to find a young self-advocate to be a guest speaker at that event. So if you know anybody local to the Pittsburgh area who may want to present, please let me know. And then that's really cool. Life's Work also has like a simulation room for jobs. So the youth are going to get some hands-on time to practice with some of those different skills that they might want to use in the workforce. So that is a cool event that we are planning at the Peel Center. Okay, and then we're going to move on, and for the sake of time, we're going to kind of chunk the next 2 sections. So what I hoped we could move into is sort of the lessons that you've learned from all of those wonderful advocacy initiatives that everyone just shared. Sort of how are we going to apply those lessons to really do that protection of the transition services? And if you could say, you know, like one concrete step that your PTI is going to take to support families and youth right now, what is it going to be? Yes, I can repeat them for you. So after hearing all of the advocacy initiatives everyone just shared, how are we going to sort of use that to support, you know, transition services in the current political climate? And then also, what would be one concrete step that your PTI is going to take to support families and youths?
All righty, we're going to start up here. We'll give folks a little minute or 2 of think time. I'm going to go to middle table first. And hopefully somebody can answer from it. But we're going to give it a little think time. All right, fantastic. And just who you are and go ahead.
So this is Carla Miller from South Dakota Parent Connection. I can answer something to the second part of your question. What can we do? I think the best thing that I can do for families in my state is to really work on the sustainability of our organization and to make sure that when things like this happen, we aren't threatened with shutting the doors because of all of our federal funding is at risk. Because this is just one round of several rounds we're probably going to go through with all this stuff. So we're really working hard on our sustainability plan, not only from a staff perspective, but from a fiscal perspective, so that we don't have to panic, because parents call and what they want to hear is a reassured voice that we're not going anywhere. So that's my answer to your second.
Or I can just tell them what you said.
Here you go, Michael. Reminder what you said.
Oh.
One glass of wine.
So was it, we were talking about potential silver linings from everything that's happening right now. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Whew. Well, because I try to be positive and I look at what's happening with the dismantling of all of our systems. But then I think, how did those systems get established in the first place? And they were piecemealed. And Medicaid is doing something totally different now than what they were established to do. So what I'm hopeful for is once everything is demolished, that we will build something up that's much more positive and really recognizes and supports folks living with disabilities, because we are still a medical model and not social model. I'm so tired, I can't even say what I want to say. Okay, Michael, what else did I say?
No, I think you were getting at that because in some of the other conversation we had too, some of us have been doing this a very long time, and we have been involved with transition when transition first started in the 1980s. And I'm saying all that because I go back and I look at things that I've created in the 1990s, the early 2000s, and then I open them up and it's all novel. And we go into states and it's like, wow, isn't that sliced bread? And you're like, no, it's stale bread. And you all should have had it a while ago. I'm only saying that because I think we can go back and really look at that. And getting to your point is, all right, what are the tenets of how all of these agencies can work together better at the state, local level? How can we continue to break down silos? I get real soapboxy on this because when I started, we had no internet, we had no cell phones, and we knew everybody in the community. And I worked at a school for kids with really complex needs, and we served 8 counties. It was like 150 school districts in Western Pennsylvania, and I knew who all of those people were, all these different VR offices, and we made those connections. And I step back now and I think, oh my God, like you got to have all these resources and you don't connect. I know there's a lot of reasons why that happens, but I think how can we get back to that? And how can we get back to just the basics of what the heck are we trying to do here? We really want the young people we're working with to understand themselves, what they're good at, what supports they need, and where they're going in the future. That's really what this is all about. And then somehow this becomes really overly complicated. And the really trite thing that I say, what we do is not rocket surgery. So how can we get this to be that's right. Rocket surgery. Yes, you got it. That was supposed to be a joke, Everett. Yes, go ahead.
Because I really love what you're talking about, and I think another example in that, because we are a world of acronyms and we're a world of silos, and I said that when I came to this network, and I didn't understand why people were not talking to each other, and I looked at people in my state. And I was like, why don't you talk to each other? And I am a firm believer, and I think my team would attest that we are collaborative. So using an example to kind of what you were saying in the state of Colorado, the Disability Innovation Fund funding, our state got 14 point something million dollars. And I had to creep my way into that table and say, you have nobody offering the family or youth perspective at your tables. And it's all system-based, nothing against systems, but it's all system-based. And we kind of inserted our way in, and we kind of came together to talk about collaboration. We call ourselves the Family Coalition here in Colorado, which is Family Voices, who has our F2F, because Peak doesn't have the F2F. Peak, Show and Tell, who's our CPRC, Parent to Parent Colorado, and El Grupo Vida that deals with the immigration population around disabilities. So I think the more we came together, the more we started to have the conversations and collaboration around the table, and the more because the bottom line, transition is not going away. Our young adults with disabilities are going to graduate, and again, we say we start at 0. So let's say they're going to go through schools, right? They're going to graduate, and they're going to need to go into the real world, and they're going to need to go into the real world with really authentic inclusion and being part. So we're not going away, right? So we need to really start to come together at these tables and offer what we do best, is that family and youth voice and perspective. And we just keep, we show up, right? We take up space at the table, all that we've heard throughout this conference, and we just need to keep doing it. And it may not result in money at the same point, but when you do that grassroots, I'm going to use that term because that's what you brought me back to, grassroots, and you do it together, you will stay alive and you will build it even stronger than when it started.
Okay, Everett, and then folks think, and go ahead.
I feel like I've said this a lot, but I want to make sure that this room hears this. When we started to do the regional youth development institutes that are going to happen here tomorrow, and we're going to have some youth from this region here with us tomorrow and Saturday, the driving force of that recruitment is from parent centers. And when I started in this role as a coordinator 5 years ago, almost every parent center was like, well, we can't find one youth. And I'm like, and you're the driving force of a national youth collaborative, right? There's no other place that is driving that and bringing us youth that are ready and focused and ready to be advocates. So I think it just drills home what you just said, is that you are the best at bringing that perspective, but you have to believe that in your soul, right? And you have to honor that's who you are, right? So I just want to say that because that's how a lot of you have. Yeah. Yeah.
Julia, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just had a comment. I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing what you shared, because it just proves a point that everyone here that's at this conference, we all need to commend ourselves for speaking up and speaking against adversaries that are not doing what they are supposed to do and not advocating and working for youth. Don't work without youth, work with the youth to work for them.
Other thoughts or comments, kind of getting back to this question about what you're doing now, given the current environment, to keep things strong and to move forward, I guess is basically, Christy, what you were getting at. Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to monopolize. When families call, the other thing that we're doing is reminding them that there has really been no federal legislation historically that has not come from grassroots efforts of parents to raise up their voice to say no, that our kids deserve more, and we say, we have families of young kids that when their kids are young adults are like, we're tired, now we're in the adult system and we feel like we're having to advocate all over, and change happens. So the thing that I think we all already do, but we have to do equally more importantly, is to make sure parents know their voice is strong, that they themselves have it within them to be part of whatever system change happens for the betterment as we are navigating all this. Parents have to be empowered to speak up and to start raising their voice, because that's historically how change has happened.
Anyone else? Other thoughts? And while other thoughts are percolating in your minds, I'm actually going to pick on Brad, because I've been working with Kansas for the last 3 years. And there has been such a pivot in the state with, I think, what they do and the groups that have come together, and part of it was the synergy. There was a reason that they were coming together and they saw outcomes. So I don't know, Brad, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, but you did to me 2 days ago. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, because it's very noticeable and it's really cool.
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, I think that we're just focused on creating as much value in people's lives as possible. And so, for example, we created a 9-week music and arts program and got implemented into an alternative school. And it's like, we weren't trying anything except for following our passions. Turns out the kids love the music and the art. Now there's other schools that want that, and that creates new funding opportunities. Another example, we hired someone with a nutrition background, because we understand that in order to have a healthy brain, you have to have a nutritious meal. And so beyond the IEP conversation, beyond self-advocacy conversations, things like fun and joy and creativity and food, and that way, if anything comes around, I mean, Jody, even with Pathfinder, I think the grant got shut down, but there was some like agricultural thing. It was like some farming thing. And we were like, sure, we'll try to partner on that. Just trying to get creative with the talents on your team in as many different facets as possible tends to create more partnerships and opportunities that we would have never seen coming. Some of those being like Department of Commerce and music organizations and school districts that we've never met with before. So I would just say, it sounds corny, but like follow your heart, find the people on your team that are really creative and good at things that not a lot of people are, and push that out into the universe, and then more stuff will come your way.
Yeah, it's really true, and it creates this synergy. And I guess the other thing too is folks understanding why they're coming together and what they're working on. And we talk about this with Yeti all the time. There needs to be a project, a product, or an activity that folks are coming together around, and then through that work they start to develop. In Kansas, they had this dream to do a model of what we do with the Capacity Building Institute, and I'll be honest, it was like February, and there were some people on this team who are like, this is never going to happen. And there was enough synergy that no, this is going to happen, and we're going to do this and pull in these folks. And as Brad was saying, there's very diverse partners in that Kansas group, and it made such a difference. So I think somehow to instill the whys and hey, this is really cool, and this is what we're doing. So hang on, let me get to Jody. Okay, I got you. Thank you, timekeeper.
I'm going real quick because Brad's awesome. Just giving him a holler. But as a PTI, we didn't really have access to youth dealing with, juvenile justice system. And that's an underserved population that we need to hit. And, hearing about his program, we're piloting it this year in North Dakota. And we have now connections with all of our JJ, all of our DOC. Like, it's just progressed. And now all alternative schools are connecting with us. Residential schools are connecting with us. So it's just another tool program that brought in some additional connections, which then braid into the other services for the PTI that we do. So it's pretty awesome. It's a funding source we never thought about before, but now we're approaching a whole new community to do something like that. So.
Okay, great. Anything else as we move? And I'm looking at the comment that was just put in chat. Hot off the press, in a major development in a lawsuit challenging the U.S. Department of Education's February 14th Dear Colleague letter. And it's April 3rd certification requirement. The parties have reached an agreement that blocks the department from taking enforcement under the directive until at least April 24th. So at least some things are moving and blocking and holding steady, and hopefully that continues. And I'm not going to make I'm trying to be, I guess, even keeled here, but I think you all are in your communities and your local areas, and you need to support what's going on and continue to be active in what's happening. And there are a lot of things happening now. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But I think you all need to go and advocate for what we have going on. And I'm not saying, I think you were hitting on that. You look at disability history, it was the families, it was those parent groups. When you look at the ARC and you go back through the ARC history, that's who started this. It was interesting. I actually was sharing with Susan. We were in Idaho, and Quinn and Aaron and I were there, and we did a disability history presentation. And at the end, there was a young man that came up. He was in one of the college programs in Idaho, and he said, "Oh, it was a great presentation." And I'm not mentioning any names or anything, but this is kind of like what's happened here. And isn't this a little scary? And I'm like, yes, young man, this is. So I think we really do. We need to look at how we can keep this going, how we don't lose what we have right now. Anyhow. All right, Christy, any comments before we turn this over to Ev?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I think Michael just summarized that all greatly. And I think all of you have sort of shown we're still here. We're still doing that boots on the ground work. And, you've all touched on it, hosting those listening sessions with families, with youth, letting them know their voice has power. And then someone else had touched on it, but engaging with your board and really highlighting those impact stories from youth, I think are some really key takeaways for ways to keep doing this work. So thank you all so much for sharing. I am so excited hearing about all of these wonderful things. And I will now hand it over to Everett.
All righty. And as you have Everett, I'm going to change things up on the big screen.
And it's not necessarily that you get Everett, you get to learn about mini grants. So I guess, and I guess we are going to close the show a little bit today with us, but I think one thing I'll say before I kind of get into this is that I think it's really cool to hear that so many regions did a mini grant like thing, or actually did them in their regions and gave money for people to start to engage and work with youth. And RAISE kind of had this thought as we began our collaboration with NTEC-C, and there was a major focus for Yeti to create the Yen project for several years, and we're still going to keep working on that. But NTEC-C was like, hey, we work with state teams. We want to have Yeti start to go out to these teams that are really ready to think about this, about youth engagement and about engaging youth and supporting them. And RAISE was like, well, what could be our parallel to this? And so that's when Josie was like, we could give mini grants out to centers to help them collaborate with young adults. So to kind of start the process or build on an existing program or expand different things that they're doing. And the wrinkle that we had was that Yeti members would come in and provide technical assistance on those things. And as the RAISE Youth Engagement Coordinator, I got to help coordinate those connections and connect with the centers working on these projects. And so today, we're going to have these centers come up one at a time, kind of give a little commercial for their product. Michael might even show a preview if we have the ability to do that, and then we're gonna give you some time to kind of look at what these are. It's in the PowerPoint that you were sent. Most of them are there and posted, so you can look at them and dive into them. And then I'm going to be posing questions to the presenters that are here, just to kind of get a feel for like what the experience was like getting support from a Yeti member and kind of doing it this way. Because one of the things Yeti is evolving into, I think, is that it is a very close-knit group, and it has become really collaborative between the adult allies and the young adults that are a part of this. And that's because we've created a really awesome community. And so helping people to understand how to do that collaboration with these mini grants is a cool thing. So with that, I'm excited to have, and I think this is Brad. Do you want to come talk about your project? And he worked with, and it's so cool. Raise your hand, Yeti members, if you are in the room and worked on one of these mini grants. Raise your hand. You'll see there's a few in here. It's because there were other members that are not here that connected with people like Brad about their projects.
Thanks, Everett. And nice to meet you in person for the first time. Been a bunch of Zooms. Yeah, so I think we only have like a minute or a minute and a half, so I'm going to condense this down like really fast, but okay.
People in the stratosphere are not seeing this. Not that.
It's okay. Cool. Yeah. So our project for the mini grant was called IE Podcast. This was an idea that we had. Let me try to click next. Oh, hold on one sec. Within our organization, so Chase is the program that I oversee, and we have a Chase Your Dreams podcast that we started 2 or 3 years ago. And the intention there was to just create kind of like these bite-sized mental health episodes and stuff like that, and we incorporate it in our programming. And the more and more that we did podcasting, the more and more it gave us opportunities to connect with other people in the community. So we've been able to meet like anti-bullying campaigns, local businesses, mental health professionals, all different kinds of people that can share their story with their own disability. And then in addition to that, we had Jam Class, where we do podcasting, which is our music and arts program that I mentioned, as well as Chase Fest, where we do a podcast with like 15 kids all in one room, and you can imagine how that goes. It's pretty crazy. So the question started to percolate in my mind, which was, why don't we have podcasts about IEPs? Because we have these kids who won't self-advocate in an IEP meeting. They sit around, they're intimidated, people talking about them getting in trouble, especially like some of these justice-involved youth and stuff. And but yet, when we get them into our office or our podcasting environment, and they would tell you this, they won't shut up. You know, you get them in front of a microphone, they'll just talk all day. And so we were like, let's get them into the studio. And so that's what we did. We launched IE Podcasts with the help of the mini grant. This is Echo Miller. She is now our youth POV person from RSA. And she helped us pilot the first episode. We've done 3 episodes now. And the goal of it is to create podcast episodes about strengths, interests, and passions. That way, if a youth is having a hard time self-advocating in an actual IEP environment, the schools at least have information to go off of ahead of time. And so we think this is a pretty exciting project. It actually got picked up by KDADS in Kansas, the Department of Aging and Disability Services, and they gave us some funding to pilot this at 5 schools in Kansas. So the goal is to do this now with 25 to 30 students. Yeah, and we're hoping that it generates obviously authentic youth voice, obviously confidence building, but also assisting educators. My brother is a vice principal, and I see the absolute train wreck that he has to go through in his life supporting all these students. So we want to create something that's easier for them too. Yeah.
I just had a question for you. Are youth not speaking up and advocating? Well, one of my experiences in IEP meetings was that I was told I was being rude because some of my IEP leaders did not understand what advocating meant and did not like when you stepped on their toes. So I don't know if that is.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the things out of the 3 or 4 episodes we've done, every student has actually said that they were under the perception that they were somehow in trouble a lot of times going into these meetings. And so I don't know, with this project especially, and I know I'm out of time, but we're really just trying to front load like the fun aspects and the more joyful aspects of things and get people opening up about some things that maybe they normally wouldn't. So that way, if they're having trouble with that in an IEP, that it goes a little better for them. So anyway, thank you. That's IE Podcast.
Yeah, I just want to well, and Brad, I know, and maybe you're not doing this now, but I know when you met with Billy, you talked about making a guide for other places to be able to do pods. Are you still doing that?
Yes, and that is part of the KDAD's funding as well. So there will be like a facilitator manual for people in an online virtual course if you wanted to do this. And we create that for the schools too. So with that grant, we give the schools $3,000 each, and then they go buy the podcasting equipment, and then we supply the technical assistance of how to do a podcast and the scripting for what the conversation might be like. And that's something that you guys could post on Yin or whatever. Like anyone could use that wanted that. Yeah. That is Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services. Sorry.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. And next, I feel like this is like a dramatic drum roll because Josie was going to do this. So I am literally making this up as we go off her notes. Here we go. Drum roll. And it is. Everybody's wanted to see your face. I know it's like the drama at the end of the day. They're all awake wherever they are. And Vermont Family Network, I believe that you are online on Zoom.
I am.
Yay.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all in East Coast time. And I think just in the interest of time, we don't necessarily need to go through the presentation. The 60-second version of what we did was really to think about this opportunity to focus on youth engagement, which we hadn't done in our organization much before, and to also look at our pretty dated transition toolkit on our website and to maybe use this grant as a way to pilot what it could look like to take one piece of the transition topic, which is super broad. You can see from the slide, it includes so many different topics. So to start out by just working with a small group of youth on one piece of the transition process that they identified through a series of meetings that we had with them, and to really develop one tool. And so that original idea was to develop a graphic brochure, and we had a hard time connecting with someone with the artistic skills to do that well for us. So we wound up creating a short film. And so the folks we worked with were, there were 6 youth, and some of them were currently in college, some were in high school, some were living and working at home, but they really helped us to brainstorm what topics they thought would be most interesting to feature in a short film, and then within those topics, what kinds of content they would want to see. Getting that feedback from them, and then also showing them a video that we found on the Got Transition website, and getting their input on components of what they thought made that video really helpful and engaging and something that would resonate with them. Helped us to think about what our own film short could look like. And so in the end, they chose to focus on self-care. And together we put together I think it's maybe just under 2 minutes, a video that we are excited to host on our website. We used a resource called Biteable. So for someone like myself who is not a huge, you know, I don't have a lot of experience with video editing, it was super easy to use. And I think we have a really great product. We're still going to get more feedback from other youth on that product before we put it on our website. But it was great to see that with the help of this grant, we can bring people together, have great conversations, and come out with a tangible resource that they were really proud of, and that I think for us is going to be incredibly useful.
Yeah. We're going to do a little preview.
Yes. Yay.
Becoming an adult means taking on more responsibility for many things, including your own physical, mental, and emotional health. This means actively participating in decisions and actions about things like exercise and nutrition, healthy relationships, and managing stress. This is important for everyone, whether or not you have a disability. During childhood, parents or caregivers help with your healthcare needs, like scheduling appointments and keeping track of medications. When you turn 18, it will be up to you to make decisions about your own healthcare, although support is available if you need help with some of these responsibilities. As you become an adult, it is important to learn as much as you can about your body and what it needs to be healthy and well. For example, if you need help with daily living skills, you may need to learn how to hire and manage personal assistants. It's also important to learn what kind of exercise and nutrition is right for your body. Positive relationships, dating, and sexuality are also key parts of our health and well-being. And we can't forget mental health. Learning how to manage stress, relate to others, and make decisions is all part of learning how to take care of ourselves. Becoming an adult can be both exciting and overwhelming, but don't worry. There are many resources available to help you navigate the transition.
What browser is it in?
And take on more responsibility.
I'm just.
Check out the Transition Toolkit on the Vermont Family Network.
Is that a WebEx link? Who has WebEx still on their computer? You are from the 1900s. No. Yeah, to show your screen, then it'll show everything. So, one of the things that did come across in most of these mini grants, and a lot of the work that we do with youth, is it's having conversations with young adults about what they want to do, and then thinking about how to create that in their own space. And so this whole thing is pretty cool. So that kind of idea is kind of how Yeti got started doing what they were doing. That's how Yen got started. That's how all this began. So it is a theme about effective project creation or program creation. Yeah, thank you to Vermont. That was wonderful. Pathfinder. Where's my Pathfinder, folks? Is that going to be Jody? Jody is coming back up for opportunity number 2 of the day.
Maybe. So Pathfinder Services of North Dakota has a group called the Youth Point of View, Youth POV. I know, they're amazing. Holden is somewhere. I don't know. Did Holden leave? Oh, okay. So, and then Signy's one of the other ones. And then we just recruited a member on the eastern side of our state. And we had chosen, well, the opportunity came out. I applied. I went to Misty in the group and said 2 resources. And they decided on creating one on communication. This resource is created to go with their webinar that they're going to be recording. And then the other one, Holden was really wanting to create something, and the group talked about an advocacy resource. So the other one that they did was for advocacy. Tips for advocacy. I think one of the things that I liked once the Youth POV created the resources, I met with Everett and Amanda, and we really just kind of had that conversation about what could possibly be changed to make it better. And I liked the coordination of it all. And we were lucky because we had 2 Yeti people on the team. But yeah, so it was a great collaboration. So these are available in here, and I think they were sent out or they will be sent out. Yeah.
So thank you for that. And yeah, go ahead. Yes, please clap. Yes. Get loud, get hype. Because and Jody, I think you're right. And the thing that we really tried to do when we were coordinating these connections was looking at people's skills. And so knowing that Holden and Signy were already Yetites, we'll call them that, right? They were already Yetites. Josie was like, hey, like, we're trying to really model this whole, like, if a youth at a parent center is working on this, we want someone from Yeti to give feedback. And it just so happens that we do have a 23-year-old new teacher of the visually impaired that is in Yeti, and she works on IEPs and does all this kind of stuff professionally. And that's Amanda, right, Jody? And so she was able to look at this from a professional lens and share her perspective and give feedback that way, which I think helped the resource be better. But it just, we really did try to match the skills up with the people that were providing feedback. And I believe this is, am I right? Massachusetts, yes? Do I have the right state? Yes, right? Okay. Am I reading that right? And this is a transportation-based resource that Sean Spence from California, but I guess he's now just moved to Pittsburgh. So he was in California, but is now. And are they here today? Oh, you got it pulled up. Okay.
So hi everyone. I'm Monson Tyler. I am on the Federation Youth Advisory Board, the newly found Youth Federation Advisory Board, and I'm so happy to be a part of. And we have a great team, but outside of that, I do a variety of transition topics. And I'm in school right now, about to graduate with my developmental direct support certificate, and I also founded my own social program.
So my name is Tatiana Thomas. I'm 23. I am currently a student at Mass Bay Community College under the Transition Program Scholarship, where it allows myself and other students to attend colleges.
Hi, my name is Luigi Vincent. I'm 21 years old. I work for Massachusetts Advocate for Children, where I'm helping advocating for people with disability in schools, and also I'm helping immigration people not go back to their country to actually stay with their family. I also go to UMass Boston, and I this year will be my last year.
Hi, my name is Andrew Carr, and I've been involved in classroom advocacy and networking with organizations to help support social inclusion and access for friendship and outing events through access to community friendship and with Federation of Children with Special Needs. It's been a great effort to be collaboratively working together on advocacy and joint project.
I'm
So
Ned Reichenbach.
I think that don't turn off the WebEx again, Michael. So I think again, one of the things that you're seeing across these mini grants is that their project focused on transport. I know there was a video about their advisory board, but their project focused on transportation and was transportation focused. And for some other places, that wasn't the primary goal. But I think where they are based, that makes a lot of sense for where they are in Massachusetts. It was wicked good. Oh my goodness. And now this is Impact, and I think there are folks from Impact on Zoom now that
Yes.
talk about High Impact.
Hi, my name is Lily Ricketts, and here with me is Madison Ragsdale. We
Nice.
are a part of Impact, and our group is called My Voice. It stands for Missouri Youth Voices of Independent and Collective Education. And with this grant, we made a video to share and create a better understanding of what an IEP is and how it affects the individuals who have an IEP. There should have actually been a flyer passed around there today that has our goals on it and some of the things that we've done already within our group. And attached is a QR code to our website that has our video on it.
Lily, are you okay if we share the video?
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. You could just you could you could just press screen and it would show your whole screen the entire time, but you keep re-clicking and unclicking, and it's driving my brain nuts. You do your thing though. You do you. It's the end of the day. Everybody's tired. Everybody wants some chicken nuggets, I think. I don't know if people.
Of what they need or accommodations. We always tell these kids to never ever be afraid to use your voice. We teach them be calm and listen to what your teachers have to say. If they ask if you have any questions, then that's when you ask your questions. Just don't be afraid to think of any questions during your meeting.
What is an IEP? You're wondering what an IEP is. An IEP is to make sure students, families, or school staff know what the educational program will be like for the student.
An IEP is a legal binding document that includes the following 4 parts. 1. A present level of performance. 2. Accommodations and modifications. 3. Goals. And 4. Services.
Hi, my name is Emmett. I am 20 years old,
And if you continue to watch this video, there's actually bloopers at the end, which are really funny and hilarious. And Lily and Madison, I want to ask the question, what was the video creation process like? Because I realized that y'all kind of, I believe you partnered with a media company to do some of this, right? So what was the process like?
It was really just a combination of things. We had all of these ideas that when we initially started this group, and it was just the process of putting it into action. So getting everybody together in person instead of over Zoom and finding the right place to film, and it was a lot of things, but it was a lot of fun.
So literally though, because I know there's bloopers. How many takes were there?
More than most. There's more than there should have been, but it was so much fun doing it, and so it made it all worth it.
Yeah. I just love that you had this very serious topic about IEPs and understanding them, and then it was like, here's how we almost messed this up. So thank you. Please check it out when we give you some time to check that out. And it is your information with the QR code there. Do you see that now? Are they not seeing that? Okay. Okay, it's on the tables there. Well, I'm here, there, everywhere. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sig. She's like, it's right here, Everett. Look at it. Look at it now. Okay. And folks from the Virgin Islands, are we here? Yay. This was, God bless these people. We tried to do a Zoom with folks, and I think it was okay, right? It wasn't that bad, was it? Here you go.
Yes. You too, Everett.
You want the poster or do you want the brochure?
We'll start with the brochure first, please. And what Everett is referring to is the introduction of the students, and someone be a little shy, and they had the other students pushing them in the chair, not a wheelchair, but it was very comical to say the least. Okay, so oh. Yeah. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shami Carr. I'm joined here with the director of our PTI, way in the back, attorney Kishma Francis. So Kishma and I do a class. We've been doing it for 2 years at the alternative school. These are children who are pretty much socially promoted, but they're also underdiagnosed. Some are diagnosed and some are unidentified. Some of the students have disclosed they have disabilities, but haven't gone through the process. They don't want to be labeled, but I thought it was good that they shared that with us. So one of the first thing we did, this is a 2-part product that we did. The fall semester of last year, mental health was a big deal. They had a student debate, and mental health was talked about as the last section of their debate. So we decided as a group, meaning the children and us, that we would create a mental health brochure with this grant, part 1. So basically, this is the front, kind of the first fold of it. This is a picture that one of the girls gave me, and I just kept it. I just thought there was something very unique about it, and I was very glad because it's a very pretty flower, but it's also a very sad flower. So it has a lot of meaning behind that. So we used hers as the front one. This is an interesting one. We did replace, but it was interesting because we do art therapy in our class, and one of them is the dual face. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but basically this is your inside face, this is your outside face. And so all the students did it, and this is a good example of how you feel on the inside. We did that with over 20 students. Every single one had a sad face in the inside. That ought to tell us something, okay? So that's called the dual face. On the side, what the students said, if we can you scroll down a little bit? If we scroll down, these are words from the students. Everything on the right, okay? This is everything they said at the debate. I recorded every single word they said, okay? And then the next part of the brochure, the other side, they chose what topic. If it was anxiety, PTSD, it didn't matter, whatever the mental health was. They chose depression. And this is what they wanted people to know about depression. So they helped create that from a fact sheet at the local Virgin Islands Department of Health. Did that. Well, we obviously did this. The iceberg is very important. Okay, so I was kind of surprised that the kids didn't know the expression tip of the iceberg. These are children from 14 to 16. They are in the Virgin Islands. We don't see icebergs. I don't know. They didn't quite understand that. So I had to explain tip of the iceberg. And so I had them do an exercise. I'm sure many of you heard of the diversity iceberg. I don't know if you guys have, that's where I adapted this from. So I explained to them about the watermark, what you see, what you can't see. It's kind of like the dual face. They go hand in hand. I had every single one of them do an exercise. So they anonymously, I didn't have them put names or anything. I drew a little iceberg. I told them, put 2 things on the top people see as a behavior that you feel you're being judged, okay? And then below it, write the behavior or the feelings that you're having that people don't understand, because there's a lot more going on under the water, certainly, than what people could see. This is a compilation of all of what they've done, this one iceberg, okay? So this is all the responses. Some were repeated. That's why there's less than 20. So things such as depression, too much clowning. One girl said, I'm trying to be so serious with my school and everybody's a distraction. And then I'm mad all the time and people don't know why I'm mad. Okay. I thought that was an interesting one. Perceived as dumb. Okay. Low self-esteem, body shaming, reputation. We had one girl who said, I hate reading the paper because I never know which family is getting in trouble. It's embarrassing and it makes me angry. Who would have ever thought that someone didn't want to read the paper, a teenager, because of reputation? I mean, these are things we don't think of, right? Things we wouldn't know that's below the watermark. So now we go to part 2, which we had this class do as a continuation of this brochure. So if we want to pull up the poster now, and as I mentioned, we had 20 students do this dual face. We had a contest, and these are the 4 that made it onto the poster. All we did with the poster is reformat it, use the same information, and added a few more things, okay? So this poster, which I really wish we had the physical poster, I'm not sure if we can get the whole poster in. Yep. A little bit more, maybe. A little bit more, just. Okay, that's good enough. That's enough? Yeah. We can just scroll the top part. And we can, yeah, just to see the top. Okay, so we converted it into a poster, and we had the second class. Our class is a semester long. We literally have class, we have grades. I'm now a teacher. So I didn't know this program had turned into a class, but it has turned into something that's become a very robust pre-ETS program that we have students with and without disabilities. Okay, so now we decided collectively, we were going to convert that brochure into a poster. And these are the 4 that won. Okay, those are the 4 that won to get to be on the poster. We had a little contest. We did add a few more things. Angry, quiet. Some kids are like, oh, people think I'm so quiet, but they don't know what's going on. They had introvert and extrovert, okay? Some say I'm an extrovert, but they don't realize I'm really super quiet on the inside, and vice versa, okay? So again, we had the second class do the dual face exercise, and we had them do the iceberg, so we can combine both classes to come up with a master poster that represents 2024-2025 class of the Edith William Alternative School. Okay, so as you can see here, we just took the same information, put it here. This is how the students wanted it format, and where to get help is the same as on the brochure. So this was just such a great visual to hear from the students. We didn't do anything but collect the information, gave them exercises, and basically produced it. Okay, so the only thing I will note in closing is that the Edith William Alternative Academy is a school that houses about 20 students to 25 students right now. This is a school that has a very bad reputation as a bad school. Every one of these kids are awesome. Together, they're a little crazy because they be just treating me like a substitute teacher. I'll leave it at that. But but I'm there enough. I said, don't treat me like a substitute teacher, but they're very comfortable. And I told them we're going to share things that don't go outside this classroom, other than telling your family you live with, of course. But we're going to respect boundaries, okay? And so this was a really good way to respect boundaries, to talk about something meaningful. And I will say at the end of all of this, that dual face exercise was very, very eye-opening, because if you did this with your students, I would be very interested to know if they have a very similar reaction of a lot of sadness and confusion and hurt in the inside. So that's our product, and we're very, very proud of our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, it was really fun to connect with them, and I think it was even cooler for Alexis from Yeti, who's from Indiana. She was like, "I can't believe I'm up at 8 a.m. meeting with the Virgin Islands. This is amazing," and they were a crazy group, but we really love the dual phase concept, and one of the feedback we gave is like, give us more of those, and so thank you for doing that. And then Nebraska. Are the folks from Nebraska here? They're on their way. Did you bring runzas with you though? That's what I want to know. You forgot a runza. I what is that? It is the most disgusting tasting food I've ever had in my life. Yeah. Okay, you a poor hot dog empanada thing.
At stores called runzas, but they do make them homemade too.
They do. Everett.
Oh my. Yeah, you did. We did not. You took one for the Runza team.
Okay, so I kind of mentioned this earlier, so I will make this quick. Was super excited to get our kind of youth point of view stuff going. Very proud of these youth. So we will have 3 handouts, and they actually got me the information. They were like, can you still get it in for the conference? Because they knew my goal was to tell you all about it. But I was like, yeah, they gave me a bunch of stuff on like Monday night. And I don't know about you all, but I was like, I thought about staying up till 3 in the morning. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just get the others later. So we got one done. And so they're calling themselves In My Shoes, and I like that. And it's just, they went with the youth point of view. They really like that. And so this first one was on workplace accommodations. So they did a lot of work. So they dived into their disabilities, did research, looked up fact sheets, how to talk to their teachers, how to talk to their parents. And so I really appreciated all the work that went into that. Then they discussed their challenges and their barriers, and then their strengths, because I can never not have them talk about their strengths, right? And then their teacher said, hey, let's look up, what do we think would be a good place to find accommodation information? Well, the Jan network, everybody knows, kept coming up in their research. So they were like, we want to make sure that we give our information, but also tell people about Jan, because none of their parents had ever heard of Jan. So this was like eye-opening for everybody involved. So they did research on Jan and told me exactly what they wanted put on there. And so that's on the one side. Just did a little information about what advocating for themselves means. Then why Jan's a great resource. This is, their words that they had on there. They could kind of pick and choose what they really wanted on there. And I'd say, do you want this? Is this okay? And then after exploring their disabilities, they went on the Jan website and found great information. We asked them to pick at least 2 accommodations that they found. And then this is how they wanted it set up. And what I loved is some went more than 2. A few told me that they were like, you can find more than just going on the list. You can find articles. And I was like, oh, you can do a deep dive. And I love that some of them did that. So a few were like, this is not on a list. This is from an article. Like teamwork was in a story. And I was like, put it down. Like, this is your advice to other youth. So I love what they came up with. And then we did some final thoughts. And again, I was just in awe of them, that they just did such a great job just saying, like, we're all unique. We all have strengths and challenges. Please ask for help. That was a big one. What works for one person may not for another, because what I love is then they talk to each other about what they found. Like, hey, what do you want color coded contrast? What's that? Like, I need this. So they learned about other accommodations too, which I think was a win-win. And then I love Savannah, being different can help you be true to yourself. She was big on, we don't have to be the same. We can be different. We can have different accommodations. Like, we can have different barriers. And then Zane, being different isn't bad. It's just unique. So that was a big theme with them. And I have to admit, I cry all the time anyways. So I'm like in tears, like within meetings and like putting data together. So it's really good I do this alone, like late at night, because I'm just like, I love these kids. But they're amazing. And so I am so excited. I'm excited that we've done this, and I'm excited to get the other 2 done, because the other is about school accommodations. And again, really had to dig into their teachers and talk to them about it. And then find out why. I think that was a big thing. Like, wait, why do we do that? Like, you give me this, but why? One person said, they said it's because of my executive functioning deficits. And I said, say what? And I'm like, okay, but that there's a problem if you don't know that your deficit is executive functioning. Like that's a whole other world, right? And so that was just a great thing that came about. And then the last one is just going to be about self-advocacy, and it's some good stuff. I'll have to admit, I had to go back a couple times and go, okay, so your statement here that says, if somebody's mean to me, I'll do what I have to do to get that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, like, you know what? No. Look, meet me in the alley. We're throwing down. But I still love it because I was like, it's raw, it's real. This is how they feel. But I was like, okay, so this is gonna be on a handout. So maybe instead of I'll come after you, we say I'm going to advocate for myself instead. So we're working out a little bit of that wording, but I still absolutely love it. And I can't wait to just do more. We have some more youth that we're going to do some more projects with. So I'm just really excited. Sharon, was there anything that you wanted to? Sharon is our transition guru in Nebraska, and she hears it all. So it's really exciting that we're embarking on this to get that youth voice out there. So again, Jody, thank you for offering this and enabling us to do this.
That's right.
Well, yes, RAISE, and well, Jody for telling me about it. I mean, no, I started as director and was like, what is this? Should I do this? And she's like, yes, duh.
And Sydney just said, what's wrong with advocating in the alley? Is that okay? Is that and I want to point it out that what you're doing by doing these is you're building a community that can then come together and do more projects together. So know that. But if you want to Google Runzas, you can spell it. It's RUNZA, Runza. That's how you spell. Yeah, there you go. And open doors. And open doors. I know that you said you're going to mention this, Mel. You said during your update, you were like, and I have more to say about this later. That would be now.
Yeah, I know we're all getting tired, so I'll speed through. So the project that we proposed, I guess some of the things we've created are all consolidated here, but the project that we proposed and went through the process of was we have a 10-minute identity and advocacy blog, which is kind of like a recorded conversation between 4 of our young adult advocates. And they come from 3 different cultural communities. And so after we had completed the editing and recording of that video, they identified that they wanted to build their advocacy skills around language access. And so we went through the collaborative process of running the transcripts for the video, taking all of those words and then machine translating them. And then they wanted to go through the process of learning to proofread. And so they actually sat down with mentors and went line by line through all of their words of their story and translated them into their own languages. So the video will be available captioned in English. It'll be captioned in Vietnamese, Somali, and Spanish as well, in the Mexican dialect. And then just in addition to that, this is the blog site that we just published last week that is kind of enhancing more on the voices of our community. And so the first 3 blogs, the first featured one is actually Khalid's introductory blog, which is sharing more about who he is and his journey as an immigrant and going through the school system. And it's going to continue in 4 other parts about his journey through college and accommodation needs and just all of the things that he thought were helpful to his success. And then we have an assistive technology blog, and then the video is actually linked here under Voices of Our Community. So if you want to access it, right now the English one is on YouTube. I'm going to get the other ones put up hopefully in the next couple weeks. So that's kind of it. But it was a beautiful journey and just allowing people to kind of build more skills that now they can put on their resume because they've completed a language access project. I think it's pretty special.
Thank you, Mel. And are they trying to bring a dance party to the outside of this room right now? Like, and like, who wants to sit here with me when that's going on out there? Oh, there are. Okay. Mel, do you want to talk about these or no? Okay. 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 She's willing to move on. Okay. And so Ohio, they are not here today, and it's for good reason. They were at their state DD council today, hopefully going for funding to do a large young youth and young adult event in Ohio. So that's what they were told to go there. So they were like, "Sorry, Raise, we love you, but we kind of want to do this event." So can we have Michael Ewer and Everett talk about what we did in the project? And so I'll start, Michael. Then you can talk about the kind of process we followed to do what we did. And so, yeah, watch your eyes in the light. I'm talking first. Yeah, I said I will talk first. Yes. So Ohio, Michael's not even listening to me. It's okay. Not you, not you, Michael. I know you are. So so in Ohio, they have a cross agency youth advisory council, or a YAC, and ironically, it has no youth on it right now. And so I guess Michael kind of sort of goes to meetings ish. We'll say ish sometimes. And it was almost like so I went to a meeting and I was like, wait, Michael truly is the only one that we're okay. So okay. So but the idea for their mini grant was to do a focus group to help build out what they would do with a group of youth as they went on to recruit them and bring them in for different things. And so that's when they tapped on Michael and I to come do a focus group. Michael, if you want to talk about the process we followed a little bit.
Hello, this is Michael Ewer, for those who do not know. So what we did is I drove to Winterman High School, and before that, Ever and I created some questions for the focus group, and then I presented the questions and was the mediator. And so I'm happy to do that, and then here is a video. Voice, but challenges like self-advocacy, social skills, and accessing support remain. In this video, you will hear what youth have to say. When youth voice is heard, real change happens. I'm Michael Ewer. I live in Sandusky, Ohio. I'm a youth advocate and member of Yeti.
And I am Everett Deibler, the Youth Engagement Coordinator for the RAISE Center. And Michael and I had the amazing opportunity to do a focus group about special ed transition with students from Whitmer High School in Ohio.
Better transition planning, hands-on job experiences, and knowing where to find these resources can make all the difference. Let's talk about what works, what needs to improve, and how to be truly prepared for the future. When you hear the word transition planning, does anything come to mind?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Graduation.
Like
Graduation.
graduation,
Okay.
a diploma, all that stuff, getting my grades in.
Yeah. Getting a job. Getting a job. All right. Anyone else?
Getting a driver's license.
Driver's license. I'm still not ready to do that. Getting a family. Getting a house. Yeah. Car. Okay, go ahead.
I don't get anxious. I just look at it as planning for what's coming first. I just think as looking ahead on what I have to do.
Okay. How prepared do you feel for life after high school, and how does that make you feel?
Ready for certain things and also not ready for things that haven't been studied.
Okay. And what
do you feel ready for? Getting a job, definitely.
Okay. What kind of job do you want? Do you know?
I was wanting to be like an engineer.
Okay.
No, not an engineer, like a person who works on bikes. And if that doesn't work out, I would plan on being a chef.
Okay. Okay. And you had mentioned some there are a couple things that you didn't feel prepared for. Do you mind sharing with us what some of those are?
Being out with other people because I'm socially awkward and I'm trying to
Okay.
fix that. I'm willing to work on it.
No, that's great. I love to hear.
What I was thinking about after I was thinking like working at the zoo. To like
Working at the zoo. I like that.
Look, I feel like I'm really prepared. I just look at it as opening a new chapter of life.
Okay. I like that.
What you just watched was only a preview of our full video project on youth perspectives. In the full version, we dive.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick on Michael in a good way. Michael Ewer, that is, not Michael Story. I always pick on him in the worst way possible that I can do. But the thing that I think this project demonstrates is the power of having youth run something like this, and the vulnerability. And that's only we did that for an hour, maybe hour and a half, something like that. And so the full video is not going to be an hour and a half, but it truly showcases how vulnerable they were in that space. And they were like that the entire time until we brought the adults back in the room and they tried to re-ask the same question, and it was like stone face. Right? So it was like wow, and it was like, and they were all blown away by how open they were. So you did it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it truly was a great facilitation to see. I mean, I was on Zoom because I was running. We did an icebreaker that was pretty crazy before we started that, and so I ran that from a Zoom, and then he basically did the right. How did you repeat the question? How did you find the group of youth? What's it? Say it in the mic. Say it in the mic.
So the Ohio Coalition Family Youth. Everett, do you recall how they found them? I'm sorry.
It was really funny. They were like, "We want to do a focus group, but who do we talk to, and where do we go, and what do we do?" And I just sat in the meeting and was like, "We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna have to figure this out." And then someone was like, I have classrooms that might be into doing this. And so they reached out to classrooms, and they said they have 4 or 5 other classrooms in Ohio that are like, please come do this with our students also. And so, we're hoping, our hope for doing this was that Ohio would then take this and make a group in Ohio that they could use to build what they're doing. And so that's why it makes me, I'm sad they're not here to present this, but it's also like, go to the DD Council and get money to help get an event for youth in the summer that shows real commitment and passion for what they're doing. So the video, it's on the PowerPoint right now. The one that was sent to you. Yes, it will be sent to you. Yes.
I believe the full video will be up soon on the coalition's website. Last I looked, it was not up yet.
So once we get the full version, we'll send that out too. But yeah, you'll get access to this stuff. But I thought it was a really cool example of of the power of that. And Long Island, I believe they have a video. Yeah, yeah. This is a honestly, they were talking with youth about advocacy skills and then making some kind of video product. And honestly, this just came in like today earlier. So we'll see what this one actually is a little bit together. I think there's some singing though. Is there, Michael? I know that our Yeti member Katie Russell was asked to help them talk about what a structure of a video that we put on social media would be. That's what they asked for a youth consult on. So let's see this.
He has autism, but he can sing like the Dickens, and he is going to give you the opportunity to hear him today. So thank you very much.
Michael was sitting with us earlier.
Thank you, Montauk Music Festival. Thank you, EJ Autism. To everyone who came out here, thank you. Enjoy this number. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I live the life that's full. I travel each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way.
I've worked in the field of special education for over 20 years and have had the honor of working with numerous young adults that have successfully transitioned from school to competitive.
They sent this in an email yesterday that this is just what you have in that shared link that was sent out. It's just kind of a snippet of this. It's a longer, I guess, self-advocacy video. Yes. Yeah, it'll be coming to an inbox near you.
Yeah, so I know that it's 3:45, and I know people are exhausted. Oh, you want to do a wrap up, Mr. Runza? Okay, you do. Yeah, oh, that's right. Thank you. Good heavens, for 7-Eleven. Get her off the screen. Huh. So on the RAISE website, they'll be on the website, and they're going to be sent to your inbox soon. Yes, we just got Long Island's hours ago. We're running in Ruth. We could, yes. And they are going to be spotlighted again, some of them, at the NTEC CBI in a youth engagement greenhouse event or opportunity that is going to be happening.
And Miriam, I guess the evaluation is being sent, or
Evaluation is in your inbox, and it's also for those of you who are virtual. It was also sent to your inbox, but it's also put over there by Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for your help on the virtual side, putting all this, the websites, and the survey is over there. And it's in your inbox for all of you who are here today.
Ready. Thank you all. I think round of applause to y'all. Thank you, remote people. Good having you join us. And I guess for those that are staying for, and I don't know, is that many of these people, Everett, or it is not many of you people. There is another event though, Ev.
Yeah. Yeah, so